Hey guys, and welcome once again to the Indie Game Culture Podcast, a podcast where we talk about indie games. What else? I am Cal, I'm with JT, I'm with Melika, and
Hello.
we have a new face in the room if everyone is watching from the video contingent, as some of you are known to do. We have Kat from the Cozy Gamer Cast in with us, and she's going to introduce herself because she's much better at doing that than me, so take it away.
Awesome. Hi everyone. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. But yeah, my name is Kat. I go by Cozy Gamer Cat on the internet. And yeah, like Callum said, I also have a little podcast called the Cozy Gamer Cast, which I know is a lot of alliteration. But I cover cozy games and indie games all over the internet. So happy to be here to talk about some games today.
So basically, Malika's not going to be the only person talking about wholesome games this time around.
Finally, I have an ally.
Absolutely.
But yeah, before we jump into our usual section, a little bit of admin as usual. We have a website. You must have heard of it by now. It's indiegameculture.com. We cover news, we cover reviews, we cover guides, and so much more. We also have an Indie Game Culture Discord. If you go to the website, you'll find the Discord, and you can chat to us about games and other things, and you can have an argument with me, as I'm known to do. And as well as that, if you could give the podcast a 5-star rating, we would love you forever and ever. So that would be really nice. But just before all the games, how is everyone?
You'll never guess what I did like a couple of weeks ago, Cal.
Oh, tell me.
So I was walking past the sea, and it was like a lovely day. And I looked and I was like, I really wish I could be in there, but I can't. I was like, you know what? I'll just dip my toes. And before I knew it, I was like up to my hips, just wearing my regular clothes in my jeans in the sea. It was crazy. And then I went back a few days later in my actual swimming costume, and I swam in the sea in the UK as an adult.
Was it not cold? It feels like it would be.
It wasn't first. It was quite a warm day. It's about 25 degrees, which is like, it's hot.
That's like heat wave over here.
But our international viewers would be like, what? But no, for us, it's 25. It's a pretty hot day. So yeah, it was cold at first, and then it was all right. But the problem was, it's like a stony beach, so I had to wear my flip flops, or it would have hurt my feet too much. But the current kept on like stealing my flip flops, so I had to like reach in and grab them. It was like a fight against the sea. It was a lot of fun though.
I'm glad you had fun. Now, the first time you went in clothed, was that a little bit of a breakdown, or was that something you wanted to do?
It was kind of unexpected. I was like, you know what? I was like, it's such a lovely day. I'll dip my toes. But it felt so nice just like dipping my feet. And I was like, I just kept on walking further in. It was like, I know this is irresponsible, but also low key. I'm loving it. So I just kind of did it. And then I had the uncomfortable walk back home in wet jeans, which wasn't great.
Oh.
Especially because I'd like walked into like just below my hips. It just looked like I peed myself. It was very embarrassing.
I was on board with you until you said jeans. That's the most horrible feeling.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal there. Was it though?
Well, I'm glad you had fun. It's not very often we get to have fun seaside trips in the UK.
Because I live in Portsmouth, so I'm kind of like not too far from it anyway. So I was like walking past it and just decided to be spontaneous.
Yeah. What about you, JT? Any mountain trekking or mountain hiking or
diving?
Oh, just a little bit. Not too much. I've done a little bit in the Golden Gate Park nearby, but for the most part, I've just been very much playing the game that both you and me have been playing, Cal, and that's kind of devoured my life, and I'm sure we'll talk quite a bit about it later.
We sure will. Yeah. Any exciting things, Kat?
Ooh, I don't know. I went to WASD this weekend in London. So that was good. Lots of good games going on. A couple, I think, highlights that I'll probably mention later, to be honest. But it was much too hot. The heat wave in the UK is no joke. So I would like it to end soon, please. But I did get caught in the rain yesterday, though. So maybe it's finally turning. But
it turns on a dime over here.
Did you have crazy thunder yesterday? Because I woke up and it was like the loudest I've ever heard it in like years. I was like, my God, it was like absolutely tipping it down. It was crazy.
Very, very good. And for myself, I've been my typical sedentary self, occasionally skateboarding, but otherwise doing exactly what JT's been doing. Yeah. So I'll cut that one short and have us jump into the first section, which of course is games we have been playing, where we talk about the games that we've been playing. Does anyone want to jump in and lead the discussion?
I mean, my list is embarrassingly short this time, so I guess I'll go. I've been busy with other stuff, so This one isn't an indie, so I played a bit of Starfield because I've been hyped up for ages. Honestly, though, it wasn't my thing. I was quite disappointed because I was expecting, because even though I know I don't like space games, I thought because it looked so good in the trailer that I might make an exception for this one. But I couldn't get behind it. And I hate the thing that Bethesda does where you have like a limit to how much you can carry. And it's just like, just let me pick up everything. I like picking up everything. And I don't like all the space stuff. And I was like, you know what? I gave it a try. It's not for me. So I went straight back to Sea of Stars, and I'm about 14 hours in now, and I am loving it still. Although, Cal, I would say I slightly disagree with you because you gave it a 10, I would give it a 9. I have a couple of flaws with it. My biggest issue with Sea of Stars is that at the campfire, for some bizarre reason, the cook is above the rest. So whenever I get to a campfire, I spam A to try and heal up, and it always takes me to the cooking screen. But I've already got like, because you can only have 10 like meals. I don't know if it increases later on in the game, but at least for the first ages, you can only have 10 meals maximum, which means I can't cook anything anyway. So I have to back out the screen, go back into the rest, and it just really annoys me. And I also find that with like the boss fights, it gets to a point where I can't die because I'm good enough to avoid dying, but it's just taking so long. So it's like fighting, heal up, and it just takes forever. And it's like, this is boring after a while. Like, I enjoy the combat system for the shorter like enemy fights, but for the boss fights, it's like, it's not because it's difficult, it's just repetitive. And yeah, I have an issue there, but everything else with it is great. I love all the different areas you go to. I love how the story develops. I just got to the twist with the archiver. I was like, what? That was really, really cool. So yeah, I'm really, and there was also that, like, again, I won't give any spoilers, but there's that moment of betrayal that I'm sure you guys know what I'm referencing. And I was like, no. So yeah, I love all the emotions it's like getting me into. It's been brilliant. And then the final game, because like I said, oh, actually, no, should I lie? I have been playing more Among Us as well. I'm really, really into it. Annoyingly, though, nowhere near as popular as it used to be. So it's getting really hard to find a decent lobby, which is very annoying. But I just like catching people out. I don't like when I'm in the imposter because I'm good at it, but the stress I feel, it's like my heart's just like pumping. And I hate just like lying through my teeth on the in the meeting screens. But no, the final real game that I played was, I tried out Gress earlier, and I know you guys love it, but I couldn't get behind it. I found it too slow. Like I kind of get what it's doing, and like some of the mechanics are kind of fun, and the puzzles are a little interesting, but it's just way too slow paced for me. I tried it for an hour, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give up. It's not my thing.
Were you able to figure out like what stage of grief it was? I was like, oh, this is anger. Oh, this is bargaining. Like from what was going on there.
Yeah, I only got through to green before I gave up because I got bored. So I was just like, this is too slow. This is too slow for me. Especially all the doubling back you have to do and stuff as well. It's just boring. It's like, I appreciate what they were going for. It's just not my kind of thing. I'm too impatient. I need constant. You guys know me. I need constant stimulation. Yeah. It's like, add some collectibles into it. I might have been okay with it, but as it was, not my thing.
There are collectibles. They're just really annoying to get.
But they're not frequent enough.
No, they aren't. I can see why you wouldn't like it. It's very much geared towards like that more artistic style where like everything's cleverly done, but it's not necessarily always fun.
That's the thing. Like, I can definitely appreciate what they did. Like, it is a pretty game. It's just too slow paced for me.
And as for Sea of Stars, you're wrong.
I mean, yes, it's an amazing game. I don't know, like, it's just not quite a 10. Is all I'm saying.
No, I've only been doing this for 8 years and only given 110 in my entire career.
You feel pretty attacked. I get it.
I will die on this hill. I did not give that lightly. But yeah, I can see what you mean about the menu, but it's such a small thing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's just been like, I can't think of the others, but there've been like a few very small niggling things, and it's like, I guess they add up to outweigh that 1 point for me. But like, I mean, I don't tend to enjoy RPG games that much anyway, usually. So the fact that this one's managed to hold my attention for as long as it does, and I fully intend to continue with it for all the 50 hours or whatever it is that it is, like, it's a great game.
That's what I was going to say. The other gripe you have is like, that's a symptom of an RPG, like a turn-based RPG game. That's what they are.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of you
maybe playing
them like normally, but the reason why you probably stick with it above all the others is it's so interactive from moment to moment. It's so good that way.
Oh, that's actually another thing that I have a problem with, the fact that jump and interact to the same button, because there's been a few times where I've like climbed up a really awkward thing, gone to open the chest, my finger slips at the last minute, and I've jumped all the way to the bottom and have to go do it all again. That annoys me.
That does happen the occasional time, but again, it's
just a small thing. Like I said, it's still an amazing game. It's just not quite a 10 for me.
I can also jump in on Starfield as well briefly because I actually went and bought an Xbox Game Pass monthly pass, which is something I thought I would never do, but I went and done it.
The dark side, Cal.
Yeah, I doubt I'll be renewing
I
it
can't
for another
believe
month.
I've been trying to get you to join Game Pass for indie games for like ages, and you joined for a triple A. That is shameful, Cal.
I don't know. I had to look at it just out of the morbid curiosity that it might be so good and I'm missing out on it. But I played it, and it's one of those that I kind of briefly discussed it with you guys already. Like, I got extremely overwhelmed really quickly, and I was just like, no, this is too much.
There's so much.
And all the people were sitting saying, I know, but after you finish the main story and you're 25 hours in, then it gets good. I'm like, no, that's not happening.
Don't want to commit that long.
I commit 10 hours to a full game on average, so that's just not happening at all. So no joy other than Sea of Stars.
I mean, like I said, like it's been a slow. I've been busy with other stuff. Haven't had much chance to play different games. But hopefully next time I should be able to play lots of games because there's so many games coming out in the next couple of weeks. So I'm gonna have my time taken up.
All of the ones that you've seen at Gamescom, they'll all be landing.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, I'll jump in because JT can jump in with me for one of them.
I'm very keen to talk about this. Yes, please continue.
Yeah. So we can start off with Lies of P, which is basically the dark, gritty, thematic, and Pinocchio-inspired Souls-like game by Round 8 Studios. It's really interesting what people will do with public domain characters if they have them. So Pinocchio got the Souls-like treatment, and it is really, really good. But there's some aspects of it that I didn't enjoy, but it's like pockets of annoyance in an otherwise very, very good game. From my perspective, it's effectively what you would have got if at the time, like maybe 2018, 2019, if FromSoft decided we're going to actually do a Bloodborne remaster. That's probably what Lies of P would have ended up kind of resembling in a lot of ways. Now, there are some cool systems that it employs. Like, it has P organs, which are essentially like a skill tree in a Souls game, which I've never seen before.
I love skill trees.
No, it actually works really well, which is surprising because I thought, oh, a skill tree, that doesn't sit right with me when I'm playing games like this. But it actually works really well, and it allows you to build a character in a way that the stat system doesn't allow you to do in this game, because you can only really build for a strength character and pretty much nothing else. You can build for a technique character, but why the hell would you? Yeah, I'll let JT chat about it a little bit because I know he's got much more opinions than I do on this.
So I really loved some parts of it. Like, it very much felt like I was playing Bloodborne 2. Like, there's a whole part of the game that ditches the puppet aesthetic of the game. You're just fighting monsters, and I was like, and it feels like it's an area in Bloodborne. It's like, oh wow, it's more of the thing I loved. And it's really good because it combines a lot of the like, it's not just Bloodborne's combat. I thought the combat was a lot more like Sekiro, where you're forced to parry a certain way, and if you hit dodge at the right time, you take 0 damage and the boss gets staggered, and it feels really good. But the game does a bad job of telling you need to do that specifically. Like, there was a late game boss called Door Guardian, where that's like the only way you can defeat the boss, and I thought that would have been a great tutorial boss. And some parts of the game, I'm just like, why didn't you tell me about this?
Yeah, it's actually something that I put in my review. I got 14 hours into the game before I got an achievement for breaking like their weapon with a perfect guard. It's just I just don't play through blocking. It's all dodges.
That is a long time to wait for that achievement.
Yeah.
It's the way I play Bloodborne as well. I like the parry system was a little bit more nuanced in that game, where you used the gun, and it was a little bit more. And it's just simply timing it perfectly with this one, whereas with Bloodborne there was a bit more to it because you could use it as a ranged attack and you could get more out of it. So I was like, I could learn to like have these reactions pinpoint, or I could just move around rapidly all the time, and that sat with me better. But yeah, keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, but I agree with that. I prefer dodging in Souls games and parrying. I feel like I can never time it right. But gosh, there was also a bit where I wish the game, I feel like it could have been so much better if it had done the typical Souls thing, where instead of having a set of worlds, like, it's very much you go from this world to the next, and like you follow a linear set of chapters, and you can explore around in each area and find like treasure chests and things for more quartz, and you have to do that because if you don't have these abilities, you will be like compromised in the next boss fight. But in Bloodborne, you can very much like, okay, I don't like this boss, I'm gonna go mess around to a different area and see if I have a better time there. And if they had done that, I feel like it could have been so much better. And I even could have seen like where they could have done that, because like there's a bit when you finish the police robot boss, and I feel like the game really it could have opened up into a bunch of different areas, because it doesn't make sense to have them connected, I thought, for the most part. So it was like, oh,
I tried not to be too harsh in the review with the kind of open world things. I feel like there is a little bit of limitation on this being like their debut game, and they're not a huge studio. It's a huge publisher, but not a huge studio.
Right.
So basically they probably don't have the resources, and I even made the joke of saying they copy Bloodborne right down to the loading screens. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I think they had to go with that more linear approach, but they could have interlinked it a little bit more, I'd say. Like there's always in the Dark Souls games like a pseudo open world. The only one that's truly open world is obviously Elden Ring, but the rest of them, they create shortcuts, they let you kind of link back to the areas, and they always existed, you just couldn't get to them. But with this one, it's a case of like hard loading screen to go to the next area for the most part, and it's a little bit annoying. But the other thing I would say as well about the story is the side quests are so much more interesting than the main boss.
Oh, really?
Did you get to the Riddler one, Callum? Because I love that.
I've only got through, I think I found 3 of them, so I'm still looking for the last one. But I'm not working through it as quick as you. I'm
impressed with both of you, given how much trouble I had just with the demo. I was like, I'm so glad it's you guys doing that game and not me.
Yeah, to be fair, all the demo bosses, like, not to put you down, but they are quite simple. And then once you get to the next one, the difficulty spike is huge.
Oh gosh.
I couldn't even beat the first demo boss. So
oh, okay.
Oh dear.
I played the first demo boss. I failed enough times. I was like, you know what? This game is definitely not for me. I can appreciate what they've done. It's a well-made game, but it is too hard. I'm going to go find something with vibrant colors and pretty cute shapes.
Well, just wait for another Crab treasure. That's what I'm waiting for in terms of souls.
Gamescom, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, well, that's essentially what I thought of it. Like, the only other thing I would say, and it is a criticism of it, is sometimes it's really authentic to the FromSoft Souls series, and it's to the detriment of the game itself. Like, one of the things I mentioned in my review was that it relies on, at a stage quite early on in the game, for you to do quite rigid platforming to get through a section that is essential to progress through the game. If it was to go and get like a unique, valuable item and it was off the beaten path, fine, give it some platform and don't mind that. But they put in this really obnoxious section where you have to like dodge on like tiny little beams and then jump across like gaps in them on the like wooden planks, and like that's not
like the only part I'd enjoy.
It's really obtuse.
Like, it was harder than the boss you ended up getting to, which was a joke.
At least it felt worth it, I guess, by the time you get there. You earn that.
No, it was just a
wait, would you then have to wait? If you died to the boss, is there a save point between doing that tricky part and the boss? Would you have to redo the tricky platforming each time? Boss?
No, they give you shortcuts quite consistently.
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
Because that's what drives me nuts with Souls games. Yes. Like, I tried Demon Souls and I was just like, I can't do this whole repeat the whole level thing every time I die. It's crushing my soul.
It's weird with Lies of P, because I feel like it is a really accessible Souls game, but in other ways it really isn't, because there's some parts of it like that are really obnoxiously hard and at weird times within the game, like right at the start or right in the middle, and then the end game, or at least what I've seen of it, just it gets easier. It's just strange.
That's mostly the case. Like, it actually gets much easier, and the hardest bosses are in the game are the one in the middle that I don't know if we should spoil and talk about it, and the one at the very end of the game. But it's like once you get past that boss, it's like, oh, this game's a piece of cake. Yeah. Oh, also, Callum, I really loved the puppet mechanic, where the puppet arm, and like there's a bit where you can customize puppet arm. It's a little bit like Sekiro, where it's like you could have a prosthetic arm that shoots blades or shoots fire or is a shield. And one of the arts was a thing called a puppet string, which is basically a grappling hook, and you can grapple an enemy towards you or grapple towards the enemy. And I love that because I could have a really strong strength weapon. An enemy could charge me very fast. I could grab them and then slash them. And I found my play style, and I was very at home. It's like, oh, this is a fun mechanic. I love this.
It's definitely a good addition. It's good for the overworld. The bosses, I feel like it has no potency. You can't really get through them with, so you almost have to ignore that you have it in a lot of cases. But it's good to get through the open world. But I find that the feeble arts that you're allowed to do, they are much better for boss fights and allow you to stagger a lot easier. So definitely the preferred of the two. But there's another thing as well. Like they were really pushing in the marketing this weapon assembly system, which is essentially you have your normal weapons and you can strip the handle off them, put the handle onto the other weapon, and it becomes a brand new weapon.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, in its essence, really, really good, really fun to experiment with. But then about 3-4 bosses in, you get a legendary weapon, and you never use any normal weapon ever again.
My experience is identical.
Man.
There's just absolutely no point in engaging with it after that. So
That's really silly. Why would it not give you more than one legendary weapon to like customize parts with at the very least?
Yeah, if they allowed you to take the handles off of the legendary weapons and kind of mix them up, then that would have been perfect. But they just, for some reason, didn't. Maybe that would have just made the game completely unbalanced, more so than it already is. So. And I also find that, like in the later stage of the game, I think they tried to overcompensate with the bosses being a little bit easier. So they made the kind of overworld and standard enemies a lot harder. So by the time you got to the bosses, you had half of like your kind of health boosts left and made it kind of harder artificially. So it just essentially led to you sprinting past everybody at a beeline to get to the boss. But I mean, I would have probably done that anyway.
What else have you been playing, Callum?
What else have I been playing? So other than that, it's been very bit part. This is actually the first time I've came to this podcast and not had a platinum to show for it. Just
Cal, you're losing your touch.
I'll tell you why. So as you know, I recently got my 69th platinum, which was very nice.
Nice.
Ooh.
And that was the goal from, I started in March and said, I'm going to essentially like double or just over double my like tally of ones that I have. And it was supposed to be 68, and I was like, no, I'll make it 69 for no apparent reason.
You know exactly why, Cal.
So I did that, and now I'm at a stage where I'm like, okay, well, I could probably kind of take my foot off the gas and still end up getting like 50 by the end of the year, and I feel pretty good about myself. So I've played a lot of games, and I've kind of done a lot of the groundwork to get some platinums, but I haven't quite finished them yet because I bounced on to something else. And as well as that, I've been playing Baldur's Gate with Ella alongside myself.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, do you know, I like it a lot more than I did initially because I feel like it just threw a lot at me. Now I'm not one of those people that know like D&D 5e, so I kind of had to engage with that and get to know it. And now I'm at a stage where the combat's kind of resonating with me, and I can see how clever it is. Like it's very similar to Divinity 2 in the way that it does that, and then it just brings D&D into the equation. So very, very good. Still not Disco Elysium, but very, very good.
Don't get JT started about Disco Elysium.
I know. But yeah, the ones that I have been playing, I played a little bit more Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Not a lot, just basically got through another like section of it. I'm going to just do that passively every now and again because I've kind of lost the kind of engagement with it. It was mostly down to the fact they keep doing the combat thing, and the combat's absolutely terrible in that game and does not belong. So we'll go back to that whenever I feel like it. It's not one I'm going to be pushing heavily. And then there are two that I'm definitely going to platinum because they're pretty easy and pretty enjoyable. One of them is Cat Quest 2. I've been playing a little bit more of that. It's just one of those like post-stag games. It's one of those post-stag games you just like sit and you kind of chip off a little bit and then it's done, and then you go back and you chip off some more. There's no real difficulty to it. You just kind of go to your markers, and it's cute, and it's just there's cat puns aplenty. Like what more could you really ask for? So I'm doing a little bit of that, and I also played Yoku's Island Express, and I want to kind of save that for the end chat because it's going to fit very nicely into what we've been doing. But I'll
definitely join you for that one though.
Yeah, it's one of those Metroidvanias I can actually enjoy, which is very, very few, as we've discussed ad nauseum. So that's all I've really been playing. I've been playing a lot more AAA games than I've normally done.
Get out of here, Cal.
I know. No, like I played 2 whole AAAs. It's disgusting.
What was the other one apart from Starfield?
So Baldur's Gate as well.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's taking up a lot of my time because I'm playing my playthrough and then I'm playing mine and Ella's playthrough. So it's a lot, but I'm enjoying it. Kat, tell us the games that you've been playing.
Honestly, kind of similar. Like Baldur's Gate has taken over more of my life than I was expecting it to. I also started playing with my partner, and the co-op is really fun, actually. And the split screen is a bit difficult to see everything you need to see, considering how text-based that game is. But like it is quite fun, and it's nice to have like a co-op game to actually play, because I feel like it's so rare nowadays to have couch co-op. Yeah. But I also tried Starfield. I also agree was not really for me, so I think I'll just leave that one.
Agreement for that.
I don't normally like space stuff anyway, so I don't know what I was thinking.
I'm in the exact same boat. It's like, because it looked cool, but I was like, with the space, I'll try a little bit off, but space is too much for me. There's too much of it. It's like,
that's what I think. Yeah,
I like
it's very overwhelming.
Dead. I like my space dead.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think also kind of a similar thing where it's like more AAAs than I would normally play, but it's a good time of year, I guess, for those kind of releases. But I gave Sea of Stars a try, and yes, I really like it. Haven't gotten very far, but it's giving me like, maybe I just need to play RPGs all the time now, because like carrying Baldur's Gate.
Kat, how do you feel about Garl?
Garl?
Yeah.
I haven't played very much, so I probably don't know any of the character names. I've done like the intro.
Fair enough. Yeah. You've got a lot of awesome stuff coming your way.
Yeah, you're making me excited about the story from what you were talking about.
The story is really good, because I find that so many RPGs just like really kind of half-heart the story, but Sea of Stars goes all in.
That's good. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. It's just gorgeous. Like, I couldn't get over how pretty it was. So I'm excited to sit down at that and properly play.
What we were saying about it was like, it doesn't do anything different. It's literally through the power of friendship you fight God, but for some reason it's just better than usual.
Love that.
It's just done really well.
Feels really good.
Great tagline. But yeah, in terms of cozy games, like we had Faith Farm come out this month.
Yeah, I haven't played that. How was it?
It's good. Like you can tell it's a big team. Like it's hard to even call it an indie, really, because it's like they had a massive team behind it and years to work on it. So it's I kind of like to say that it's the Baldur's Gate of cozy farming games, because it's like, don't make this the standard for everyone else, because it would be hard to match. And I love a witchy, like fairy type vibe, so that's been fun. But the art style is quite...
in the game as they looked in the trailer.
Yes, they are. Yeah, for sure. And they have the cutest names.
Questions.
Yeah.
Well, because when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my god, those animals are adorable. That's why I was like, that's why it was on my radar in the first place. Is how cute because it was like round and cute and pretty.
I think the way they've tackled the farming sim like game mechanics though is like that's where it shines, because you can really tell that they've played a lot of farming sims, because there's just a lot of stuff like your tools automatically change when you're just like pressing A. The platforming and stuff in the mines and stuff is good. The combat's good. It's just like a very smooth experience, and it's not as story rich as like Stardew Valley or any of those, but it's like a very solid farming sim. And if you like the fairy stuff, you'll like it. But it is like a very juvenile art style. So I think that's turned some people off, that it's kind of like very cartoony.
That turns me on to it. I was like, yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'm fine with that. It looks like my Sims. Like it feels like nostalgia. So so that's been good. And like it's just been, a big one in the cozy game space. So we've all been covering it a lot.
So this seems like an obvious question, but where do you land on the idea that there are too many farming sims?
I think so. I agree, but I also think there's too many, first-person shooters and too many like turn-based strategy games. Like, why can't we have a genre that has too many games? I think
that's fair.
Fine. Like, there's got to be competition, and there's got to be a wide range of them. And the one thing I don't like is when people say like everything's a Stardew Valley ripoff, because Stardew Valley was a ripoff of Harvest Moon. That's the whole thing about it. So it's like, this is a genre, and people are allowed to build on that genre and create similar stuff, and that shouldn't be, I think.
But equally, do you believe that anything's going to top Stardew Valley in the next 5 or 10 years?
I I think that would be difficult because he keeps improving it. It's like if he would stop working, it'd be a lot easier.
Eric doesn't rest. He's like, yeah, let's put something awesome, new DLC, not DLC, like updates in there. Like, you just get it just for free. It's like, yeah, take more of it, have more.
Literally, the hardest worker, I think, in the indie game space. That man does not quit.
It's the fact that he's doing that whilst also developing Haunted Chocolatier. Like,
yeah.
That man is non-stop.
Yeah, I think people will never catch up because he just never stops. But no, I also think like that type of farming sim it's not worth trying to beat Stardew Valley because it does so many things so perfectly. But I think there are little things that if you focus in, like Fae Farm did, where they like really focused in quality of life stuff and making it like a more casual experience, because some people get stressed out by farming sims. So I think there's space for iterations on the genre, in my opinion, but obviously I'm biased. But
where would you say Fae Farm ranks among the list?
Oh, I would say it's pretty high up there in terms of ones we've gotten recently. I still think Wildflowers is better. And it's kind of a similar vibe if it's a bit more casual than Stardew Valley. I'm trying to think what else has come out. The Harvest Moons and Story of Seasons, they're fine, but like they're not doing anything special anymore, really. But in My Time at Portia and those guys are decent stuff. And Sandrock is good. That's coming out this month too on full release. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, I would say it's probably like third if I think like Stardew Valley, Wildflowers, and then Fae Farm. But I'm probably missing some in there that are better.
High praise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just before you move on, I was just going to bring up Melika recently done an interview with Italic Pig, who done Julio Pines, and I just I was sitting reading the interview. I was here today or Friday, I can't remember. And the question she asked, it's all related to dinosaurs and colors and sheep.
There are some though about game development. Give me some. Like, I just wanted to focus on the cute aspect because that's the most important thing. Right. I agree. All right. Cal, you are not the target audience for that game. Like me, the target audience. I am asking the questions that the audience want to know. I'm telling you right now, the audience are much more interested in the dinosaurs in the game than they are about the mechanics of everything.
100%. Yeah.
No, listen, I acknowledge that.
I will accept no stick for my questions. My questions were perfect.
You'll notice that I gave you no notes because I understand
I
still find it very
I was
funny.
really nervous when I submitted. I was like, oh no, Cal's going to be like, but no, I think I got some interesting stuff in there as well. I was happy with that interview.
You did. It went very well. It did. It's find it funny as all. But Kat, continue.
Yeah, the other two that I just finished 2 on stream. The first one being Venba. I don't know if you guys covered that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, I cried like crazy. Like that surprised me. I thought like we going into it, I was like, oh yay, we're gonna get like a cooking simulator. Like we need one, but it's not really, is it? It's a story game with a little bit of cooking.
Exactly. It's like the story is the focus. The cooking is like it's like the cooking is like the channel by which the story is told, but it's not the focus of the game.
I love that kind of game, and like it's the perfect stream game for me too. It's like short, emotional, packs the punch. Reminds me a lot of like Unpacking. You know, that it's like a very simple way of telling a story, but can really get to you. So really enjoyed Venba. And then the other one, a very old game, but I played Before Your Eyes for the first time on stream. Another one that made me bawl my eyes out.
Did you play that
you
standard
that
VR?
One, Cal.
I did, yeah, because I played it and then they brought out a VR contingent that I haven't tried yet. Did you play it VR? Did you play it standard?
No, I played standard because I have it on PSVR too. Which I'm very excited to play now that I've played it on Steam. But like I was just like, I don't know how to stream this. Really, like it would be too complicated to figure out. I
just thought it was interesting they brought out the VR because obviously it's all done from like a point of view, and it's basically like a walking sim, but it's all told through like your eyesight, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, I have learned that I can't keep my eyes open to save my life. It's like I skipped like so many emotional points because I was blinking too much. But that game, I can understand why it won a BAFTA. Like that is one of the best indies I've played in a while for sure. Very innovative, very, very emotional. But yeah, that's kind of the big ones. And I've dabbled around with Cosmic Wheel, Sisterhood, and Dredge, but I haven't gotten very far into either of those, to be honest. But those are kind of next on my backlog here to get through.
Me and JT can say that they're both very good choices.
I was going to say you've been talking about those in previous episodes.
I still think it's really fun calling Dredge a cozy game because like it's still kind of a horror-ish game,
like,
but
like an
it's,
epic horror, yeah.
it's still cozy in its own right.
Yeah, I think the fishing, like, I have went on many a rant about how I believe that horror games can totally be cozy. So I won't bore everybody. But I do think Dredge very specifically has the benefit of it's taking a mechanic like fishing that is so common in cozy games and putting it in this horror setting that I'm like, yeah, this is the easiest bridge, I think, between the two genres because it's just such a familiar mechanic for cozy gamers.
It's very much one of those games that has the whole Cthulhu aspect to it, but it's not one of those that goes, you cannot comprehend Cthulhu. It's more like Squidman. That's who he is.
In terms of cozy horror, have you played Guilt, Cat? GYLT?
No, I have not.
I'm an absolutely terrified of horror person. I won't touch it, but I must admit that game is actually all right. Like it's scary, but that's because I'm a coward, and like the cute aspects are really sweet. It's like you're like this girl, and you're trying to solve the disappearance of your cousin, and you're like taken to this weird alternate version of your reality where there's like all these like shadow monsters and stuff, but they're not they're scary, but in a kiddie kind of way.
Right.
And, like, it's got like a really emotional story about like bullying and stuff. I think you might like it if you don't mind the horror aspect. Yeah. It's not a horror game that's not just a horror game. Yeah, it's a good one to check out.
I believe your tagline for your review was horror for cowards.
That is exactly it. It's horror for cowards, precisely.
I love that because I am in fact a coward.
Yes, cowards unite.
Yeah, I actually also wanted to ask if you played Amore, which is another kind of horror-ish cozy game too. And
I've heard of that one. Yeah, I haven't played it. I really should.
It's definitely a psychological horror game, but it has a lot of like the setting is very cozy. Like there's a cozy space called Headspace where it's like you visit places in your dreams and eventually like monsters invade and they kind of mess everything up and you get sent to like a negative version of your world. And it's very cozy and sweet and like it's very much like, oh gosh, I can't even put it into words, but it's a nice game. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird mix to put those two together, but it works really well. So
yeah. I love that. I love how much that genre is starting to expand a bit. I think it's exciting. Yeah.
JT will actively try and bring anyone into the RPG Maker genre. JT, what you been playing, my man?
So obviously I'm playing a lot of Liza P, but I don't think I need to talk about any more of it for right now. But besides that, I've played a bit more of Road Warden, which just came out with an anniversary update. And for those of you who don't know, Road Warden is a text adventure game in kind of a strange fantasy mythological setting where it's like kind of same fantasy setting with like goblins, dragons, and you're sent in as a road warden to rebuild the area and bring everything, like fix the roads, rebuild towns, and basically save this little community. And it's really sweet and has a lot of nice stories. And the anniversary,
like text-based Death Stranding.
Yes, actually, absolutely yes. It is just that you're rebuilding the roads the same way, and you're just a messenger for the most part. But I really liked it. That was one of the first games I ever reviewed, and I really engaged with it. And the new update added a new ending where basically the two other endings are bittersweet, where either the area gets abandoned and just falls into decay, or it gets colonized and all of these cultures and stuff get replaced. And it's kind of sad. It's like, oh, well, I feel like I didn't really save anyone for the most part. And the new ending it introduced a mechanic where you can save all the communities and make them unite together. And I really like that because it's like, oh, yes, I can finally make everything work out for once. But it's very much, unfortunately, it's you're retreading a lot of the same ground. So it got fairly repetitive, and I found myself doing the exact same things I did the last time because I can bring myself to be mean to these amazing people. Everyone's so sweet and charming. It's like I get too attached to them. And but I really liked it. Just it is a very long game and it's a lot of reading. So just keep that in mind if you want to try that out.
I just find that so surprising because normally you're so horrible.
Oh, no.
JC is a sweetheart.
Oh, shucks. Thanks, Melika. But yeah, I played quite a bit of that. And then I also picked up Raft again with some friends, which that's the survival game where you're on a raft and you're scrounging for supplies in the ocean to build a nice raft. And it's very cozy and sweet. And I had actually an amazing kind of horrifying experience with a friend where we were starting from scratch, and me and a friend found a lot of this one material. Like I think he found 19 metal ore, which basically saves you about like 2 or 3 hours in the game of grinding for materials and going to islands. And we were so excited. And then, so he was at a different island and he died. And we were both very upset. And so I went up to save him, but then the shark, which I'd killed, respawned and killed me. And then we were both screaming. And so then he brought in another friend of ours, and she came in and saved both of us and just carried us back to the ship. So that was a very...
close.
It was a
God,
good,
I love that
minute.
game.
It's
I don't know if people know that, like, and I keep telling this to anyone who's playing Raft. I'm sure you do, but like anyone who's listening, that the updated story that they keep releasing is so good. Like the story mode of that game is like incredible, and the twists and turns are like some of the best I've ever played in like a co-op game like that. Me and my friends like were freaking out when we were playing it. So.
I've never played it, but I had no idea there even was a story aspect to it. Because I only know it because I never actually watched people playing it. I just remember hearing about it when it was like all the rage on Twitch and stuff. Like you just see everyone screaming "Raft, Raft, Raft."
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it had a story aspect to it. I thought it was just like that sort of the survival aspect of it.
Yeah,
in these traditional like
updating
survival games, like you very, very rarely get a story at all. The Forest has one, but it's one where you just kind of ignore it for the most part, as is most of them. Like it's there, but you never engage with it until you're done building like the biggest base in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the story too. It's like a nice little icing on the cake. Where it's like, okay, I've done all this work. I built my raft and built propellers on it, and now I can like look at this. The one thing is there's Bear Island where you have to fight bears, and I really struggled with my first time where I didn't know how to fight them. It's actually very easy. All you have to do is like hit them, back up, and hit them. But I died several times and ended up like losing all of my materials and equipment, and I was very sad.
Oh.
I just stopped playing the game for a little bit because I was too angry. But but I picked it up later, and I had a much better time with it. But
I've been there with the rage quitting. I do it far more often than I'd like to admit.
You know what it probably was? You're probably trying to dodge roll, get behind and backstab, and it just wasn't working.
You have to parry.
Like none of that.
Did you play any more Sea of Stars, JT?
I played a bit more. I started
Did you do
playing.
Wheels?
Did I what?
Play Wheels, the mini game that we were talking
Actually, I
about.
hadn't gone that far yet. I was playing Sea of Stars, and then I was playing it on stream, and I enjoyed like doing all the characters and stuff. And then at one point, everything crashed, and I got so upset because I had to redo this one section. I was like, and I didn't save, and so that was
really
kind
sad.
yeah.
I save like every 5 minutes, just in case I keep like doubling back to the save game.
For about 3/4 of the game, it gives you a chance to save like every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's very nice that way.
I appreciate how generous it was. I just very much like, oh, it's fine, I won't die or anything, and then it happened. I mean,
Hubris, JT, hubris.
I want to play more of that game, but also kind of want to play it on stream because I enjoy like saying like acting as the characters and stuff because they're so much fun. And I mentioned Cat to you, Garl, but I really love that character so much. He's so precious, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I hope they're okay. If something happens to them, I'm going to be so upset. But it's a very...
How many hours into it are you, JT?
I want to say I'm about 4 hours in. I really need to play more, but maybe 3. Heck, I haven't played it in a little bit because Liza P has really eaten up my life. But
yeah, so you might not have actually got to the Wheels table yet then.
I'm not sure. I got into an area with moles, and they're worried about the world
Yes,
being doomed.
I think that's the first place you have.
You're just before where they let you play Wheels.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
overall... I know that game extensively.
As soon as when I first started playing, I was like, oh yes, okay, I can get behind this. So I'm just waiting for the next. I've only been able to do 2 different places of it so far, and I'm just waiting for the next one because I want to earn new figurines and wheels and stuff.
I think there's 9 in the entire game.
So. Yeah, I think I must be coming up to one place because I'm at the underwater land, the Dakari one.
They have one, yeah.
Well, they do have one. Oh, excellent. I'll have to find that.
It's one of those things. It's like all of the like side content stuff is throwaway, but it's also really, really engaging, and you want more of it. It's the same thing with the fishing minigame. Completely arbitrary. You have no reason to do it other than just to fish, but it's really good.
far longer than I should have done trying to catch that stupid crimson bass. It was, because in the end, because it just didn't seem to want to be reeling in. So in the end, I had to go online and look for a guide. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to spam A when it jumps out the water, which I didn't realize I was supposed to do. So I was just kept on. I must spend like half an hour on that one fish. That isn't even necessary for the game. It is just for me being a completionist. But yes, thus far I've got all the fish at all the fishing spots, but it's just very stressful.
I look forward to your next Sea of Stars update. I'm going to be checking in every single couple of weeks, just like,
so next? How far have you got on Sea of Stars?
You need to really dedicate your time to this. I know I literally took away all of your time, JT, but
I honestly love Liza P, but it'll be nice to come to a more like cozy feeling game after how dark and gritty it was, because frankly I thought some of the elements were even a little bit darker than Bloodborne. Like, Cal, have you gotten back to there's a bit where you return to a previous area in the game and it's kind of destroyed? Have you gotten that far? I don't want to spoil it.
I don't think so.
Okay. There's a bit where like some of the puppets and monsters, the designs merge together, and it's like there's one of the trained puppets has like tentacles coming out of its face, and I was like, oh, this is gonna haunt my nightmares a little bit. I need a cozy game after I finish this. So
yeah, they really done a job at making this like docile wooden puppet into this like killing machine.
It's terrifying. It's like I didn't understand like a fear of like puppets or clowns or any of that, and then I played this game. I was like, okay, I can understand where people are coming from.
Yeah, a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our section on the games that we have been playing. When we come back, we're going to be looking forward to the games on the radar for the end of September and into October. Stick around. Hello, and we are back for section 2 of the Indie Game Culture podcast, which of course is Indies on the Radar. We talk about games that are coming in the next few weeks, months, whatever we feel like. And we are going to be starting with the Cat.
Exciting. Yeah, well, it's a big month for cozy games. So September 2023 is going to be insane. Specifically, September 26th, for some reason, there are like 4 cozy games coming out that day, which is rude, but also convenient to remember. But Minico's Night Market is, that's the one that I'm excited about. If people haven't heard about it, it's like a night market art like simulation game. It's the cutest little thing in the world, and you run your own little Japanese night market, and you do your little fetch quests. And there's one little scene they put in the demo for Next Fest where you got to like stealth your way around a bunch of
rescue the cats.
Yeah, to save the cats from
it's
like
so
some government spies or something.
You agents kidnapping all the cats.
It's so weird, but I'm really excited for that one.
Plus, the crafting seems like it's gonna be fun because you like pick all these flowers and you turn them into bouquets, and you can like get different outfits. And there's all these different like NPCs who send you little side quests to get them stuff. It looks so good. Yeah,
that one, and it like I think it might be hand drawn art.
I wouldn't be surprised. It does look like it.
It's beautiful.
It's
so I think that's probably the big one that I'm excited about this month. But then Paleo Pines, as we've mentioned already, is also coming out that same day. And they're cute because the 2 devs have been like promoting each other's games and like collaborating on marketing. So I really like that. But yeah, Paleo Pines is a dinosaur simulator, I guess, or dinosaur caretaker simulator. I don't know. I'm excited for that one. I've only played a little bit of the demo, but I guess you've played more of it, Melika.
I went to Gamescom last month, so they had a demo of it there. So I played it for about 15 odd minutes there, but I haven't played too much of the demo. But I did have the interview with Yaz, who's their animator and marketer for the team. So yeah, I've got all the inside scoop. But it does look like it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
we said this last time, but just she had her inside because she could understand what I say, and they're all from Northern Ireland, so she could understand what they could say. They were baffled by that.
Especially because I was at in Cologne, so a lot of people speaking to her were like the Germans. So apparently she'd be really slowing down from what she was saying, and she was so relieved that I could understand her and she could just speak at her normal pace. It was so funny though, because for the interview, like it was half an hour, which is pretty standard, but she speaks so fast. So like I had like half an hour video that would probably have about an hour and a half's worth of content with any normal speed interviewer. So cutting it down for the article was so tricky. It took me so many hours to just like take notes, figure out what to cut, what to keep, how to reduce it. It was so hard.
See, it's a potluck. So if you get like someone who's city Irish, fast speaking, if you get someone who's country Irish, really slows down.
It must be city Irish then, because it was fast. It was great though. She gave me a lot of really fun insight behind the scenes and everything. So yeah, anyone listening to this, head to the Indie Game Culture website. You'll see the full interview. It's really good.
Yeah, dinosaurs and stuff.
Absolutely. I got as much information on the dinosaurs as I possibly could. But she was limited in how much she could say, but I got every last bit of her out of her as I could, including NPCs. I got some fun info about the NPCs, about color schemes, basically all the important stuff.
Do the teals journalism, swoosh, like that sort of stuff? Do the teals do a swoosh? All that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. I talked about the different animations for the thing. I know the Archaeopteryx jumps into a little 360 in the air. It's all the stuff you need to know. Don't give me that face, Cal.
That's all. It's just that they wouldn't have been the questions I would have asked, but then that's why I'm not doing the interview.
I can't possibly think of what you would have asked that I didn't ask. I got every bit of information about the dinosaurs there was. Like, what other stuff is there, Cal?
I think I would have asked some of the questions. I think I would have stopped short of a lot of them.
No, I'm perfectly happy. I know about the character customization as well, all the collectibles, all the key things that make a good game.
We love a good character customization,
right?
In a cozy space. Come on.
Yes, exactly. Like, I need to know what are my options here. In case you're curious, you can change the outfit, the hair color, the eye color, and the hairstyle, but you can't have freckles or glasses yet. Yeah. What? They had to make some tough calls with budget and time and stuff, but they said if they can do an update, apparently if they do an update, putting glasses on is at the top of their list.
Oh, good. I feel very seen as a glasses wearer.
Glasses as paid DLC.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Oh dear.
But yeah, then the last one that's coming out this week, that's I'll be streaming in a couple days, is Moonstone Island, which is another one I think I played at the last Next Fest as well. That it's like a mash of a bunch of different genres, isn't it? It's like kind of like a Pokemon, kind of like a Stardew Valley, kind of like a Zelda dungeon crawler. There's like a million things in one, and it looks freaking cute. So
I hadn't heard of this one, but you just said like all my buzzwords. I'm like, yes, okay, I need to know this one.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like I played it at the Next Fest, and I was like, I can't believe I hadn't heard of this game. It's Raw Fury, so like a big publisher but small developer. Yeah. A great lineup they've got this year too, in general. But I'm excited for that one. I don't really know what to expect from the full game. The demo was really good, and I didn't do like any of the dungeon crawling and stuff, so I'm excited to kind of explore that a bit. And I don't know how I feel about the like Pokemon type turn-based thing. So I'm curious to see how it's done in that game.
I've just Googled it and it looks so good. I love the art for it.
Yeah, it's really cute. I just like, because Ooblets for me, it was really pitched as like a cozy version of Pokemon. It's very pretty, but I couldn't get into it.
That was the general kind of consensus on it, was like just a bit lukewarm, didn't quite know what it wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly. It just didn't grab me at all. So I'm a bit worried about Moonstone Island in that way, but because it has all those other aspects, maybe it'll be fine because you can kind of just focus on something else. But
I've just seen that it's card-based encounters as well. This is like literally everything I love in a game. I have to check this one out. Oh, I hope it's coming to console.
Yeah, I think it's a full release. I could be wrong though.
It's not coming to PlayStation. It just never is.
Shame.
Oh, it'll come out, Callum, maybe in like a year or two.
2 years, and then maybe.
It's coming for Switch, but not Xbox. That'll have to do.
Ooh. Interesting how many of these new full releases are just Switch and PC now.
Yeah,
they know the market.
Especially in the cozy genre, I found as well. A lot of them is always Switch and PC, and then they skip Xbox. They definitely skip PlayStation. They may or may not come to Xbox, but I'm so glad I'm not on PlayStation main.
There are some occasions where you leave it until like maybe 3 weeks before release, and then they go, "It's coming for everything," and you're like,
"Oh,
that's a rarity."
But yeah, those are the big ones for me, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about Moonstone. I mentioned before, and as we were talking about on the other like off stream, but the like some of the romance stuff seemed kind of fun, like where you have a percent chance to joke, chat, or like flirt with this person. I was like, oh, that's that's kind of fun and adorable, and yeah, just all of like the creature collector mechanics. Like, I don't know, from what I could saw like from the screenshots, it looked really well done, and so I'm really excited just to see like some of the art of it. And yeah, it looks very nice and fun.
Yeah, it looks pretty. Yeah.
That's all it takes. Well, I'll jump in with mine. Mine are mostly made up of games that I'm hoping are coming, so you'll forgive me for that. The one that I do know is coming, I believe it's like early to mid-October, so I'm jumping quite far ahead. But Little Gator Game is coming to console. It's coming to Xbox and to PS5, so I'm going to get to play that one. Little Gator Game is like just one of your like typical cozy 3D platformers. Same kind of thing as like Shimmy, but we're not going to get Shimmy for a little while, so Little Gator Game will have to do. It looks really fun. I'm very excited to get my hands on that.
So good. I love that game so much. And I'm a huge Zelda nerd, and there are so many Zelda references in that game. So if you like Zelda games, you have to play Little Gator Game. It's like, you just have to.
It does look very adorable. I'm just looking at it now on online, and it's like, yeah, that looks adorable. Climb, swim, and glide. And the hearts of many different characters you meet on your travels. The art style kind of reminds me. It's reminding me of something. I can't place what it is, but it's very familiar looking. I just can't.
Short hike, maybe.
Yeah.
I was thinking a short hike. I was like, is that it? Yes, it is a short hike. Especially the writing and everything.
Similar vibes too, to be honest. Like the music is kind of like the short hike and like the gliding and stuff. Yeah,
for
sure.
I can definitely see that.
Which is exactly why I'm excited.
Yeah, no, a short hike's brilliant.
That's going to be good on console, actually. I think on PlayStation it'll run really well. That'll be
sure.
good.
And Xbox.
You guys get enough. Leave it. But yeah, Little Gear Game's coming. Another one that is coming to Switch, but it's one of those things where I'm like, is it coming to Switch or is it coming to everything? Because that happens more than you think. So
it does, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a game called The Pale Beyond, which we covered for a review a little while ago. It's being made by what's the new name of that studio? Bellular Studios. I used to know them when they were Coffee Box Studios because I knew the developer, at least half of the developers. And they made a game which is kind of similar to South of the Circle, but different. So it's a game where you're on like a North Pole expedition and you're going through and trying to survive. So it's a bit survival, but it's more to do with the narrative than the survival in a lot of ways. So you have to resource manage, you have to do the survival aspect, but it's more about the encounters and keeping people alive and making the right decisions or the wrong decisions, whatever you want to do. So that's a very interesting one. And I've got that personal link to it. So I want to play it and then go, took me a while, but I finally played it. It's a good game. You did well. So
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with them because obviously I knew them when they were just kind of like budding developers in Northern Ireland. Has this kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like a petri dish for like game development called Pixel Mill, where all of like the budding kind of learning developers come together and that's their space and they just do things. And I knew them when they were kind of starting the company and kind of forming it into something. And then all of a sudden they got this really extensive coverage on like their D&D YouTube channel, where they just picked up all of this audience. And then it was in tandem with them developing this game. So they basically had their D&D following and they said, oh, by the way, we're developing this game. And then they changed the name of their studio to the name of their YouTube channel and just kind of merged the two together. So that worked really well for them. So that's fair play.
Yes, smart marketing decision by the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, whenever you suddenly get like 40,000 subscribers, you kind of have to just put that together.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's that. Other ones they're kind of secondary things. So I seen that World of Horror is finally getting its like non-early access release. So it's very hard to describe that one. It's kind of like surreal Japanese horror, very like grainy, monochrome, pixelated. Melika, don't even Google it; she'll hate it. But it's one of those things that like I know JT would get a kick out of.
Oh,
and it looks
already
interesting.
Like I know.
You've already played that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much of it whenever I kind of played the early access version of it years ago, because it has been in production for a long time. I'm not sure how long, but it might have been like what 4 5 years maybe. It's been a long time coming for them to actually get it done. But I played like the first kind of act or the first kind of short story within it, and very, very good. And then I forgot about it, and now it's here, and I'm like, oh, well, I might give that another go.
I didn't listen to you, and I did Google it, and it looks like everything I hate in a game. You're right.
You were warned.
I know. I don't know what I expected, but it was like I was expecting the horror part to be the bad part, but it's the whole just everything. It's horrid. It's just all black and white, and it's all like old school, and there's nothing cute about it whatsoever. It looks all. Oh, I hate it.
Like I will say that when you're traveling the world, you have a little cute chibi sprite that just is walking like to the school or to the gym or to home, and it's kind of adorable. But like that's the only thing.
There's nothing to say that convinced me to play that based on the screenshots I just saw, JT. I'm afraid.
Okay.
It looks. I can't know.
Yeah, I knew that going in, so I wasn't even going to try. But I admire you for trying, JT.
Yeah, you tried, JT, but you failed. There was nothing you could have done there.
And then there are a couple of others. So I'm not actually sure when this is coming, nor would I really consider it like an indie. But because the first one is so old and retro, like I think I'm going to mention it anyway. Who cares? So Star Ocean 2 or Star Ocean R, I forget what they're calling it. I'm just calling it Star Ocean 2, is coming out. Star Ocean was kind of like a real-time RPG game that I actually enjoyed, because usually I absolutely hate real-time RPG games. It has to be turn-based, or it has to be like real-time is not for me. Don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But with Star Ocean, I quite enjoyed it. So Star Ocean 2 is coming. I'm not sure when it's coming, but it should be relatively soon, because they have put out requests for codes, and they've got a 3-hour time limited demo out for consoles. Yeah, so I gave that a little bit of a bash. I don't like doing demos unless they say you can keep all your progress. So I just kind of tuned in and see what it's like. I was like, okay, it's got promise. That's good. And then I tuned out again. So I'll leave that until it's actually there. And then the other one I have listed again, it's coming to Switch, and it's an old game, and I don't know if you would consider it indie. It's definitely one of those like hidden gems. If you've ever played like the RPG series Gothic, I believe there's like 3 of them, but the original one is coming out as Gothic Classic, and it's coming out on Switch, and I'm just hoping they might just throw it onto consoles outside of Switch as well. That would be nice. It's literally just, I think it's just a port, but it would be nice to have a port.
Okay, I've seen a bit of it. Is it like keeping the same like visuals, because it looked fairly dated from what I saw?
Okay, I think they're kind of just giving it a little bit of a polish, like a spit shine, but nothing matte.
Okay.
Which I'm okay with. I can deal with it. Malika, obviously, no, that would not happen. But you know, and then just a couple of little other ones. Again, is it indie? I don't know. Lords of the Fallen is coming out relatively soon. It's another Souls-like title. It looks to be a little bit more harsh, like intentionally harsh, than a lot of Soulsborns that have come out. Like one of the things I've seen about it is like instead of having like campfires or lanterns or whatever entity of Souls you've played, instead of having that rest point, you have one fixed rest point that you can employ. All of the rest of them disappear, and you can only have one at one time.
Oh,
I really not like that.
Oh my gosh, I like hate and love that idea, but that sounds really painful.
Yeah, and I haven't looked into it extensively, but if they're doing that, what else are they doing? I kind of don't want to know, but also I do. So I'm gonna leave that until the day and maybe get into that. And there is another one called The Gap as well, which is a kind of walking simulator based around like, well, I'm not even sure if it's a walking simulator, but it's definitely narrative driven. And it's a story of a man who has like this family life falling apart, and it's to do with like a mental disorder where it's sort of like amnesia, but I don't think they're pitching it as amnesia. I think it's like a more nuanced thing than that, and it slowly deteriorates over time, and it tells the story of his family falling apart and how he does it, and it looks pretty interesting. So there's that too. But that's all. It's basically just most of the things there are a hope and a prayer and not necessarily coming at all. But fingers crossed, you know. Feel free to jump in and give the people games that are actually happening.
I mean, I'm happy to jump in with a couple. So there is Lamplighters League, which is coming, I believe, on October 2nd. So you probably wouldn't like this one as much, Cal, because this is it's turn-based strategy, but I know that you're not particularly
Do you
into
mean like
strategies.
XCOM turn-based strategy?
I don't know. I haven't played that.
It's like there's two very different, like RPG turn-based I can get behind, turn-based like strategy combat in the means of like
that.
Oh, I hate that.
Basically you've got kind of like real-time sort of exploration of the levels and then turn-based strategy for the combat. I'm not entirely sure how it's all gonna like meld together, but the trailer looks interesting. There was a demo at Gamescom. I just didn't have time for it, unfortunately, because I was playing all the other games. But it does look like it's gonna have like quite complex mechanics, but like in a good way, so you can really get your teeth into. It definitely feels like one of those games that's gonna have quite a slow learning curve as you get used to it, everything. But once you've got your head around it, there'll be like loads to do and everything. So it's that I think if you're into strategy games, it's definitely one to consider. Like, I don't particularly play strategy, but I'm probably going to check it out just to see what it's like, because it does seem intriguing. I'm curious to see how it all goes down.
It's literally just twigged me what that is, and yes, it is pure XCOM, and I immediately looked at it and went, nope.
Yeah, no, I never played XCOM, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, no, it looks pretty cool. And like I said, I think it's either October 2nd or October 3rd that it's coming out. I think it's coming to all consoles. It's definitely PC and Xbox at least. And I'm not sure about the others.
It's not coming to mine.
Ha ha ha. Well, I'm not sure if this one's coming to yours then, because this seems a lot more up your street, Cal. It's Thirsty Suitors, so it's got like a skateboarding aspect to it. So I'll put that straight away, because I know that's your buzzword. Like, cute is my buzzword. So basically, it's kind of like a story-based game, kind of exploring like culture, relationships, and family pressure and stuff. But you've got gameplay that's got turn-based combat. There's like skateboarding to explore the levels. You have like fights in the skate park and stuff. There's like romantic relationships and stuff you can have. There's a lot of stuff going on in the game, but I played the demo at Gamescom, and it does seem very well made. I like the humor in the game, like when I was reading like the comments from the NPCs and stuff, and just like it's just the general signs and everything. It's one of those games that doesn't take itself too seriously, but also isn't trying too hard with the humor, like we discussed in one of the other episodes. So it does seem like it's really got a decent, not going to take ourselves too seriously, but not going to be stupid either. And yeah, the skateboarding was like I only played the demo, but the skateboarding was simple but fun. Like, it was pretty cool, and I'm not sure how that's going to develop through the game, but you can wall ride, you can grind, you can do tricks, you can get combos. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how it all kind of meshes together, because it seems like they're throwing a lot in there, and that is coming, I believe, November 2nd. So it's still a little bit of a wait, but it's getting there. It's getting there. And then the final game I'm going to be mentioning at the moment is Bilkin's Folly. So I can't remember which consoles that's coming to, but it's kind of like this pixely puzzle game where you're on a quest trying to like find your missing relatives, and you play as like this pirate dude, and you've got a pet dog. And the puzzles seem, based on the trailer, it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, not too hard, not too easy, which is like my sweet spot. I hate easy puzzles so much, but also hard puzzles. If I'm spending more than 20 minutes on one puzzle, I'm at risk of rage quitting. So it looks like it's going to be in that sweet spot where it's like, okay, I can solve this and feel smart without, oh, that's too easy. So yeah, that should be fun. And I do love the pirate theme. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think it's always fun to have a pirate-based game. So yeah, I'm very keen to see how that one plays out.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I had a quick look at the Thirsty Suitors one as well. The skateboarding looks interesting. Everything else about it is screaming no to me.
But it's not skateboarding, Cal. You love skateboarding.
I will basically play like any Tony Hawk's Pro Skater kind of style game.
If you can tolerate skateboards, you can play Thirsty Suitors, Cal.
Yeah, that was bad. That was very bad. But also quite cute.
No, it's just awful. It's just so bad.
Just redeem it a little bit. Just a wee tiny bit. Because of the cute little birds.
I
sound like
you know a game's bad when cute little birds isn't enough for me to like it.
That's true. That is damning, actually. I'll change my mind.
How about you, JT?
Yeah, well, I only have a few games on my list. There's one I'm really excited about, though, Party Animals, which I think we talked about on an earlier podcast, or an article about it. But I remember I learned about it beforehand. It's like, oh, this looks like be interesting, and it's coming out this week, and it's very much a kind of Fall Guy-esque game where you play as a kind of that size character as an animal, like a dog or a cat or just something, and you're basically just fighting with other characters and just I think I still don't really know what you're supposed to do in the levels, but it's just mostly a lot of just senseless bashing and just kind of chaotic fun. And
It does seem like a typical party game with just like so much chaos, so much fun kind of jam.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very much up my alley. I've been playing a lot of Fall Guys with some friends, and I'm very much kind of the evil person in the game where I'm good enough at it that I will like go after I will push people off because it's so funny.
Oh.
A friend of mine, she was having a subathon, and I went out of my way to like push off the cliff and then or off of the hexagon's course, and then I won. And I was like, oh.
You are so mean.
It was great.
You seem so nice.
I know, right?
This
is so fun, JT.
I know, this is what I said. He's horrible,
He's
really.
hiding underneath that sweet smile. It's like, oh yeah, I'm so innocent. And meanwhile, he's pushing you off out of the game.
It's the quiet ones you have to watch out for, I'm telling you.
It's very much
We're on to you now, JT.
It's just party games for me. It's that and like hitting other people's golf balls in golf with friends. That's
funny though. Unless it's happening to me. It's funny when I do it.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, I think that's a great game just that I'm gonna really enjoy, and I'll probably lead to a lot of conflict and friend fighting, but I'm excited for it. And the other game is actually, Kat already brought it up, Moonstone Island, and I don't think I have too much more to add on it, but I'm really excited for like the creature collector mechanics, just because I haven't played a lot of those kinds of games, but a while ago I played Dave the Diver, and I really loved it. I thought the gameplay, story setting, like little animations when Banco would cook a meal and stuff, that was so good. But there was the one mechanic for catching the fish. It's like if you caught a fish a certain way, you get a 2-star, 1-star, or 3-star fish. And it's like if you caught the fish by making it go to sleep, you get a golden card in your Fishopedia or something. There's like this Ash Ketchup guy that shows up and gives you the quest. And that really struck a chord with me. Like I went out of my way to catch all of the fish, like as gold versions of their cards. So I think I'll really enjoy that aspect of Moonstone Island, just for getting to get all the little quirky creatures, and I'm excited for that. Also,
and such an original name made up out of nowhere, because Ash Ketchup doesn't sound anything at all like anything else.
No.
No plagiarism here.
Oh, I don't know what game you're referring to. I've never played any one of the games in those.
Mysterious.
Like you probably don't know this. He's never played a Pokemon game ever.
Ever.
I still haven't. No.
I need to.
I keep putting it off.
It's crazy. It's bizarre. Like, how do you go through your life and not play a Pokemon ever?
Passed me by. I never had the console to like play it on, and then I got some of the cards from a movie, I think, as a kid. I don't know what the movie was about, but I still have the cards somewhere.
The movie had the most emotional scene of my entire childhood, JT.
That is the only time I've ever seen my older brother cry, was watching that movie.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, no, Ash.
Yeah.
The Ash Ketchup reference went straight over your head then, JT.
No idea who that is.
I'm going to keep telling people you haven't played Pokemon until you play
it. Exactly.
Shame you into doing
will.
Don't play the new one though. It's not as good.
Play Pokemon
you start from 1996 and you work your way up to now.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have some games to play. Probably be a nice change of pace from Liza P. I love Liza P, but I need some comfort.
There you go.
But yeah, that's fortunately I've just been so busy. That's all the games I found that I'm really interested in, but still very excited for them.
Very excited. Yeah. So in summary, JT's very excited to play Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yes.
Yellow is where it's at. Yellow's where it's at.
Done and done. That's locked in. So yeah, that is our games on the radar, guys. When we come back, we are going to do our big discussion, which is on weird and wonderful mechanics that we want to see more of. So come back in a second. Hello, and we are back for our final section of the Indie Game Culture podcast. We are going to be doing our big discussion, and it is on weird but wonderful mechanics we would like to see more of. Essentially, those little one-hit mechanics that work for a game, and you're like, ooh, why do they not do that more? Well, we want that to happen more, and that's why we're having this conversation. This is mainly brought up by the fact that I've played a game, and I've decided to do this topic purely in a dictatorship format saying we're doing this. This is what we're doing this week. So I'll jump in first of all with my first one, then you can kind of branch out from there. So I know Malik is going to join me in this one anyway. So this whole topic came about because of Yoku's Island Express. It's a game that I very briefly played a long time ago, but I came back to it recently and finished it. Just have to do the cleanup, and it's wonderful. It's a Metroidvania, but the main twist of it is that you get to be like in a pinball machine essentially throughout the entire game. The traversal is pinball related mechanics, and best of all, because I'm not particularly great at pinball, there's no real feel state either, which makes it all the better. And it's just a wonderful game that makes Metroidvania feel fun, because I don't know what it is.
It's harder to get lost in Yoku's Island Express than most Metroidvanias.
No, the one thing I would say about Yoku's Island Express, it's not the navigation that's the problem. It's working out where you need to go to get to the place you know you're going to. You have to like get your ball into a very specific area.
Oh, I liked that part of it. It was like because the parts of why I don't, my issue with Metroidvanias is I get lost all the time, whereas the map for Yoku's Island Express is surprisingly decent, and also it's nice and relatively small for a Metroidvania, so you don't get too lost. And plus you can keep returning to the same, because they've got like a little fast travel system where if you complete an area, you can get like sucked up into this like shooty machine that shoots your pinball between, you can like choose which direction you go to. So it's very easy sort of like fast travel between the main areas of the game. So it makes it so much better than most Metroidvanias that they do have fast travel systems, but they're often very confusing.
Yeah. It's so much fun because like the pinball aspect of it is the platforming, but it's also pinball, but it's also combat in a Metroidvania sense sometimes in the game as well.
Because basically you play as a dung beetle and like the thing you're pushing is like your pinball. It's so fun.
And you're also a postmaster that has to kind of connect the island again, and
it's your important job. Got to deliver all those parcels.
It's so lovely and cute. Like it's
brilliant. And you can customize your pinball.
You can customize your pinball, which is obviously what you would be drawn to above all else.
I was very happy with that. Well, the cool thing about it is you can collect different sort of colors and things to customize them with, and then you can like mix and match to create new styles. So for example, you can have red by itself and sprinkles by itself, but if you combine red and sprinkles, you get strawberry or something like that. Like it's really clever in the way that it does it. And some of the puzzles are related to you having to find a certain combination of your like decorations to get through an area. They might say, I'm only allowing bumblebees through, so you'd have to find the yellow one and the black one and mix them together or something.
Yeah. There's actually a surprising amount to it, because I thought to myself, I'll have this done in no time at all. Like it's just platforming pinball, but like they add so much more to it, and the story is actually quite good as well.
I like the story. It's cute.
But yeah, that's the reason why we're doing this conversation, essentially just off the back of the fact that there's a pinball game in a Metroidvania, and it made me go,
it's so unexpected, but it works so well. Because I bought it when it was on sale. Like it's not too expensive even on full price. I think it's about what, £20, if that.
Somewhere around.
I think I bought it 75% off for like £4.
Yeah.
So
right now it's like 80% off too. So it's kind of a steal.
Yeah,
it's a good deal, people.
Really worth it.
But yeah, it made me enjoy Metroidvanias, and as we've discussed, I really don't like them. So
that's an impressive feat.
It is. And that is the reason why we're having this conversation today. I'm not going to hog the conversation. I want you all to jump in. So tell me about all the weird one-shot mechanics that you think, ooh, I want more.
Well, I'm going to jump in with one that I think doesn't get enough love, and that is Tinykin. I really, really enjoy Tinykin. So it's like this platformer game, but apart from the platforming aspects of it, you command this like little army of little creatures, and there's different colored ones that do different things. So like some of them lift up objects to move them into place for you to climb. There's the green ones that will like turn into a ladder. They just climb up and up and up, and you can climb them to reach new areas. The yellow ones kind of like fly and create like these diagonal paths. The blue ones conduct electricity, and I think it's so clever the fact that you can like sort of point and say, okay, you go there, and deciding which creatures you need to collect more of, because basically they don't like traveling outside of their own little area. So when you enter a new area, you'll have access to different little tracked originally. So you have to decide, okay, which ones am I going to prioritize freeing so that I can move to the next area? And I just think it was such a clever mechanic, and something I hadn't seen in a platformer before was the fact that you didn't just jump around. You also had this like secondary aspect of commanding this little army to give you access to mechanics. Like usually when you unlock mechanics, it's something that you do, whereas in this case, you're not unlocking anything. You're just freeing and commanding all these other creatures. And I thought it was something really clever and really fun.
No, it's something that like is sort of there in Pikmin, but in Pikmin it's more of like a strategy based sort of thing where you're almost solving a puzzle or using a mob to beat a boss or something like that. Whereas with Tinykin, it's just like a function that allows you to platform a little better than you already did.
Yeah, it's really clever like that.
Very, very cute.
I like these kind of like mashups of genres kind of that we're seeing. Like I think of Lakeburg Legacies that just came out a couple weeks or months back, I don't know, but like it's like a city builder that has romance matchmaking sim in it, and it's like kind of bizarre, just like you're saying, like Metroidvania, you make it fun by adding like a new element. Like for me, I like a city builder, but like they get so repetitive. And so adding this other thing that I haven't really played many like dating sims or matchmaking sims, it was like, oh, this is a way for me to get back into this genre and like enjoy it again. It's very casual, to be fair. Like it's not a very competitive kingdom management type, but it is very addicting. I've played that for many hours on end since it came out. So they got me.
You did that one for review, didn't you?
That's correct. Yeah, I was gonna chime in saying, I thought it was really interesting. I love the visuals, and I actually had the alternative view where I liked the dating mechanics at first. I thought it was like really cute, and I was like, oh, this is adorable. But like towards the very end of the game, it felt very repetitive, and they reused a lot of dialogue and character portraits, and I had this really funny bit where a person basically married themselves. Like they had the same like version of themselves. I took a screenshot. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. It's like, oh, this is the closest you can get to marrying yourself in any.
I just checked your review, JT. You only gave it a 6.
It was just because of the. Okay, I did love the early game. It was very engaging then, but towards the end, it just got very repetitive for me, and it just became such a grind where like there's a bit where everybody. I was playing on a hard difficulty, and everyone got cholera, and I was able to keep replacing the the population rate. Like someone would die, and then I'd bring in someone from outside, and then someone else would die, and there's a bit where I had like a 20 or 30 person queue of dating stuff to redo, and it just it was a lot.
No. I know what you mean. Like, I think it's one of those games that has a lot of room for improvement, and I think they will update it. And I think even the modes that we can play are still limited. So hopefully it'll get better. But yeah, I will say that also all of my villagers kept cheating on each other. I don't know what was going on, but they were like, they would not be faithful. It was really annoying. I was like, stop doing that.
There's all this cholera going around. Who cares?
Oh.
Yeah, you live your best life, I guess. But yes, it's not the most like refined city builder by any means, but I just thought it was so interesting to add like a completely different thing into it. It's kind of like Cult of the Lamb too. Like you take a really good roguelike and you just throw in farming sim stuff, and now it's like a whole new area of the gaming space will enjoy this game. And I think that's kind of fun, and I hope we continue to get that kind of mashup genre more. But interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it was very interesting for what it did, and I hope it refines it. I can come back to it and really get a kick out of it.
Well, staying on the medieval theme, another game I had down was Potion Craft, and I'm not sure if any of you guys have played this, but it's basically you wake up, you're like this alchemist, and you've got to make potions for all the townsfolk to solve all their various woes. And you've got a potion, you've got like a garden that has all these different like herbs and things in. But the cool part of it is to create the potions. It's like you're put on this like map, and you mix the potions, and depending on which ingredients you add, it depends on how you move on the map. So each ingredient has like a movement attack. It could be like a little swirl, could be like a straight line up, straight line diagonal, like, and basically you have to mix different amounts of the different potions, and like depending on how much you grind them depends how far along their path they go. And you've got to try and layer, you've got like this potion symbol on the map, and you've got to layer your potion symbol up with the locations for the potions. And if you can get it exactly right, it'll do like a 3 strength potion. If you get it close but not too close, you get like a medium. If you get it within the general vicinity, it's like you get like a weak one. And it's just such a clever mechanic, the fact that you're using like adding in different ingredients to move around the map. And I'm not really sure how a different game would like interpret that, but I just love that idea of having movement that's not actually based on the moves. It's based on what you're doing in terms of like almost like a puzzle aspect of it. And I love the idea of the way you're treating the puzzle being how you move around a map. And I would love to see more stuff like that in games.
It's like
I
more.
don't know why, but it sort of reminds me of what Potion Permit done whenever you're like putting together medicines for people.
Yeah.
And it done this kind of Rune Factory-esque kind of like Tetris puzzle where you had to put
Really?
the exact, like the ingredients represented like a set Tetris tile all the time. It wasn't random. It had
Right, yes,
like a
yeah, no,
set
it's
one.
the same in potion craft. Like each
Yeah.
item has its like different path, and like because some of the items like really good because they've got really long paths, whereas other ones have such short paths and they're really annoying to use. Or some of them have like really weird paths as well. They like have like a really big swirl and then like swooping up and stuff. So finding the ones, and then like occasionally you'll need to get like round a corner because on the map there's like these skulls, and if you touch them, you'll die and you'll reset to the start and you'll lose all your potion progress because you lose any ingredients that you like use moving around the map. So it's so clever the way that you can like mix and match them to like get past the weirdest different shapes on the map. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was a surprising one for me too, because I usually don't like those types of puzzle games, but I think because of that map thing, if you have to kind of explore the map to find the new potions or new ingredients and stuff too, it like makes it like a bit different than your normal kind of just like potion crafting mini game. And it kind of keeps you in it, even though the days are quite short. And yeah, like when you run out of stuff, you're kind of screwed. But like, I'm not very good at that game, but I do play it for a while, which is probably a good sign. But
I put like ridiculous amount when I was into potion craft. It was like 30, 40, something like that. It was a lot. Yeah. I just couldn't get enough of it for weeks. I think it came out at a time when there wasn't much else coming out. I was playing Potion Craft and I kept on checking to see if there was something new to take my time, and there wasn't. I was like, cool, no potions for me. So
It's one of those things in a microcosm that shows like how much effort will go into a mini game in an indie game to do something really arbitrary, and then you look at something like the thing that's in my head is Hogwarts Legacy, where if you learn a spell, you basically just trace the line and then that's the spell learned. I'm like, that's the laziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll jump in with one for the fun of it. I'll try and explain this one as best as I can, and the best way to probably explain it is through Viewfinder, which was the recent game where you take pictures and jump into the pictures, and then you're part of the world in the picture.
Yeah, that one jumped out to me when you mentioned the mechanics. I thought you'd bring that one up.
Yeah, so basically, the big picture kind of design aspect of that is a thing called fractal design, which is basically putting a world inside a world inside a world inside a world and making that work within the context of your game. So it's things that you've seen in, if you've played Maquette, it's something that they do because you start off in a tiny little map and then it expands into the normal size and then it expands into the big size, and it all becomes apparent how that works within the puzzle. And that game worked until it didn't, but it was very good at the start. And then you see that in Viewfinder as well. Again, one of those games that I think it definitely limited itself a lot more to make sure that it's a much more cohesive experience, because it is, but it plays it very safe. And the aspects of the demo that everyone probably saw because it became viral for that time, it was one of those things where you've seen everything that the game really had to offer in that 15-minute demo, because everything else was very safe. As I mentioned in the review, like it's very impressive, but it's also just very safe, and it's not pushing the envelope for about 70% of the game. And then as soon as it does right at the end and you get that really intricate 5-minute timer puzzle, then the game ends. You're like, oh my god, I wanted more of that, but it's done. And I think it's also something that you see, and I don't think this is an indie game, but it's one of those like free-to-play first-person shooters, Splitgate, where I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think it uses fractal design as well, in the sense that you have a map that doesn't have any edges, so it continually goes on and on and on and just repeats on itself. So that's fractal design as well. It's something I'd like to see more of, but it's something that is very high concept and it's very hard to make work within the sense of like creating a game, because the concept itself is very cool, but how do you make it work consistently in your game and not have it crash a lot? Because obviously if you give the player the opportunity to throw as many different assets into the world as they possibly can for the fun, like the same
like
thing,
Little
like,
Big Planet.
yeah, exactly. Or like whenever you're playing Fallout and you like explode 20 mini nukes at once and you're just your computer crashes, like it's the same sort of thing. You ask too much of the game, it's not going to do it. So they have to put parameters in place, but like if you can do something cool with that, it really works. But it's something it's very rare that you actually see it done well. I would say Maquette's probably like it shot for the stars and it missed, but I thought it was a very, very cool way of trying it. And it's one of those that came out in PlayStation Plus and everyone was just like, nah, who cares? I was like, no, good, try it. It's not good, but try it.
I mean, Maquette was added to Game Pass a few weeks ago, so I might check it out, I guess.
It's definitely something you should try for like the first couple of episodes alone, like the first couple of levels rather. It kind of falls on its ass towards the end, and the puzzles become a little bit more almost you almost have to kind of break them to make them work in some cases. So it's a bit annoying. But
Callum,
the first half, good.
How do you spell it? I keep trying to type it in. I keep getting I got one for market, one for
Mavette.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Where were you going with that?
Oh gosh. Can I chime in? There's one I really so I think, have we all played Chicory, A Colorful Tale?
Yeah, I literally had that one on mine as well.
But yeah,
I have not. Yeah,
it's really good. It's
oh, you'll love it. It's so cute.
It's a game where you play as a small dog creature in a world that's devoid of color, and it's your job as the painter to fill everything out. And you can, it's a nice, cute little story. And but like the central part of the game is just painting the world, and like you can autofill stuff, create little designs, and you end up creating these really marvelously like detailed areas. You could also you could ignore it.
I sort of compared it to Concrete Genie if you've played that, but it's like Concrete Genie is not as good as it.
Right.
Chicory, basically, you can like earn different types of patterns you can use, so you can like really get your imagination run free.
Oh yeah, it's great. And there's even like some sections of the game where it's like you can do an art class and they let you just make a piece of art. And
my pieces of art are always so bad.
It's
really hard to draw with a controller.
It is. Even like with the mouse and keyboard, it's like, oh, this is still pretty tough. But I love it. When you finish it, like a piece of art, it shows a little GIF of you making the art. And I guess with that game, there's two things that I really like. One is just the ability to paint stuff. Like, you just have a dedicated paint button in any game. Like, I feel like that just help. And
I always worry about myself in games like that, because I went to like an all boys school, and what that teaches you is to draw penises on every single wall that you see.
Oh man.
So that sometimes translates to games that I play. Like for example, coffee talk, when I was doing the latte art. That was
buddy, no.
Well,
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
You could certainly do that too. I assume that's an option in the game.
To each their own.
But I really love that paint mechanic, and even just having a GIF of like making some kind of creation and seeing yourself make that thing, and like looking at it outside of the game. It's like you can like see your creative process. It was like, oh, that's what I was thinking there. And then I erased everything because I thought it was stupid. And then I tried it again. I was like, oh, that's better. And then I erased it again. And
they actually have a version of that in Power Wash Simulator. After you complete a level, it shows like a sort of sped up video of you from the start, where it's all very dirty, and which sections you go to and stuff. It's really interesting sort of seeing like, oh, I went there and then I went there and then went back to there. So yeah.
It's very satisfying.
It is so satisfying.
Yeah, but I think it's a great feeling just seeing your progress like in front of your eyes. It's like oh, that's just all the stuff I did. Oh, I'm a hard worker.
You just want to draw on the walls.
And that too.
I get that.
I'll jump in for the fun.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a really simple one. Basically, after playing Dredge, I decided that I want to be a boat more. So the reason why I say that is I really enjoy playing Dredge because of the nostalgia it gave me for an old PS1 game called Overboard, which was...
No! Oh my god, that's just giving me flashbacks. Oh god.
It was one of the games that was on like the oldest PS1 demo disc.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
That's what I had. Even just thinking about the demo stresses me out. Oh god.
So basically, it was like a game where you are a boat and you had to like navigate these areas, and you had little cannons on either side of your boat, and you could kill the things that were there and solve puzzles. And it was really good.
The movement was so tricky.
Oh, it was awful.
It was. Oh god, I was crashing into everything, and the demo man was like screaming at you, wrong way. It's like, I know I'm doing the wrong way. I'm trying my best.
It was in that era where if a game wasn't tank controls, it was amazing.
Oh man,
Melika, was it like the boat from A Short Hike, which I frankly liked.
It was.
but-
I mean, I was literally thinking when Cal mentioned that the boat from a short hike. Or to be fair, even in a Sea of Stars, it's pretty stressful. I don't like being a boat. I'm the opposite of you, Cal. I hate being a boat. It's very stressful.
I agree.
Just thinking about Overboard, like I thought I'd put that out of my memory. But I think it was on the same demo disc as Hercules. I spent most of the time just playing Hercules for that one.
That was a good one too.
Oh my
No, to be
god,
fair,
nostalgia.
Hercules.
I hate a short hikes, but with a passion.
It's so bad.
Really? Oh, that's the only
No, the boat just
boating I
doesn't-
liked.
It just changes its
Same.
mind about which direction it wants to go, just on a
That
whim.
was what made it fun. You
No,
know?
it's so stressful.
I just
See, I think we approach games very differently. Where I want to get the trophies and get it done as quick as possible.
I
and you
like
want to have-
achievements as well.
You want to actually have fun.
I want both. I like the
Grind and
bridge
everywhere.
between the both of those worlds. Like I like getting achievements, but I don't want them to be stressful to get. I want them to be fun
Yeah.
and colourful.
I think it's partly down to the fact that I really enjoy Dredge's boating mechanics, and I would maybe extend that to like a little bit beyond that to say that I would like to be like a vehicle for the entire game, but not to the point where like you're a car in a racing game, because that's a given. I want it to be something a bit more like nuanced than that, where you're a boat because you're a fishing trawler and you go out and you get fish and there's a purpose to it and it feels satisfying to kind of roam about on the boat. All felt really good in Dredge. I really enjoyed it to a point, and then it got a little bit meh, but it was very good. And I think it's also partly down to the fact that I just like nautical games. Like whenever I got to play like Return of the Obra Dinn, like I just enjoyed being on the boat to an extent. So
How about you, Kat? Any mechanics that you jumped out to you?
There's one that it's not out yet, but I'm very excited about. It's Grave Seasons. I don't know if you guys have heard of this
I
one,
think I have heard of it. I'm gonna Google it.
but it's like it looks kind of like Stardew Valley, but if Stardew Valley was a murder mystery. And I'm very excited because not only is it like you're trying to find the murderer in this small town, very pretty pixel art, but also you can romance everyone and you can romance the murderer by accident. And you have to like choose someone to die. It's kind of like Mafia, I think, is the concept. It's like every day someone gets picked off because you think they're the murderer or whatever. And I just can't wait for that. So please
that
more.
does sound fun.
No, it does. I think
Cozy
I have
murder
heard of that
mysteries.
one. I have
Yeah.
heard of that one.
That one will be really
Looks
good.
pretty cool.
I love that kind of weird stuff because I think it's gonna be funny too, and that'll make me happy. If it's like mainly funny dialogue type gameplay.
Are you into the whole like deduction kind of or social deduction kind of genre, or is it more just that one grabbed you?
I think so. Like I haven't played that many of them. Like Strange Horticulture was probably the last one where it was like kind of the mystery stuff that I was like, oh, I could play more of this type of game, where you have to like find the clues and compare them all and stuff. But yeah, I need more recommendations in that kind of space because I don't know enough of them. But
Return of the Obra Dinn. Do that one.
Yeah.
someone said that to me the other day too, so I was surprised to hear you say it again. 'Cause it's like, oh, I'd never heard of that until like 2 weeks ago. Now everyone's telling me to play it.
It is easily like the best detective game you'll ever find.
Yeah, I need to get into that.
There's another detective game I reviewed. I didn't quite like it, but I think you might have liked it, Callum. It was like Shadows of
Shadows
Doubt.
of Doubt. Yeah.
That might be a good one. It's where just you play the whole game as a detective trying to deduce who people are in like a dystopian city just from like a few clues. And
The main kind of pull of it is it's procedurally generated, so it never ends. So there's always a mystery to solve if you want to.
Oh, good.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah.
it had some fun moments. I still remember my favorite part is like the game is kind of in a futuristic dystopian setting where you can get cybernetic implants and get cyber legs that like protect you from any fall. So like one of the missions is you have to humiliate someone. So I found out where they are in like their office. I showed up. I asked to be let in. I talked to them. It's like, oh, who are you? And I threw a cheeseburger in their face. I broke the window. I jumped out, and I turned in my reward. And it was just,
Oh
it was a
man.
nice organic experience. But the game gives you very little information to go off sometimes. Like it'll tell you blood type and hair color, and that's it. And I'm like, how am I supposed to figure this out? This is nonsense.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about like a game where I have to like take physical notes. I'm so in. I think
Yeah,
it's like
I get
the
ya.
Virgo in me or something, and I'm just
exciting.
very like organized that it makes my brain
Obra Dinn
happy.
is absolutely that.
Yeah.
You will definitely lose the run of yourself if you step away from it. You have to be plugged in the whole time.
Incredible. Yeah, I'm in. I'm sold.
Kind of the same thing with Outer Wilds as well, but it keeps the notes for you, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, Outer Wilds, the only thing I can't do is I just can't fly that goddamn ship. I just can't do it. I've tried and failed over and over again. But I need to give it another shot one of these days.
I'm kind of glad that's not just me. Like the first time I flew it, I crashed it, and then I woke up and I was like, oh, well, I guess I got a second life, and then so I'm glad it's not just me there.
It's one of those games that I consider going back to try and grab the platinum for it, but I know that there's a trophy. If you've been on like the first planet and seen the like little model ship, you get a trophy for flying the model ship to the moon, and I'm like, oh come on, I'll never be able to do that. So maybe not. Don't know.
Too difficult.
Malika, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so there's another one that I played as a made 3D platformers on my jam. So it's called Max: The Curse of Brotherhood, and it's a pretty decent game in general. But the mechanic that I really like is you have this magic pen that basically there are certain points in the game that you can interact with, and you can use the pen to like draw like essentially new platforms for yourself. But you have like a maximum length it can be and a place it has to start from. But you can choose like which direction you draw, and you have to get like real complicated. And sometimes you can do it like while you're falling or something, trying to like quickly catch your fall. So you've got to be like quite quick about it. You've got to be really precise with where you're drawing.
I'm thinking like Line Rider, like that sort of thing.
Not really. Like it's similar to that, but the sort of thing that makes it different from that is that you've got this. It's the sort of set place that it has to be from, and that it's you have like a limit. Like with Line Rider, you can draw however much you like, wherever much you like. Whereas with this, you've only got so much like magic ink. And so you've got to be really precise about how much you're using in which places and stuff. And it's just really clever the way it sort of develops, and you earn access to like new points that you can attach it to. So at first you can only do branches, but then later on you can draw a vine, which you can then swing from. And it's just stuff like that. Like it's just really clever the way that you're interacting with the environment from a deliberate point of view, and then platforming across the stuff that you've created.
I don't know why, but it weirdly reminds me of one of the games that I played at the GMTK Game Jam. It was one of the ones which was a platformer, but it was purely based on what you done in the pause menu would affect the world. So like you would pause the game, and it would have like pause across the screen, and that was your platform, and then it got you to the.
That's clever. I like that.
Just doing weird things with like, stuff that shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was a very cool concept. It'd be very cool if they'd done something with it, but I don't know. It feels kind of limited by the scope of the idea. Like, can it be more than just a game jam funny thing? But yeah,
it might be the impossible quiz almost, that in a sense.
Yeah,
there's that part where you have to like use the right click to use it as a bridge.
Exactly, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll jump in. I'm going to mention a game that I didn't particularly enjoy, but there was one part of it I really, really did. So I reviewed Tashia, which I was very excited for, and I thought was going to be like, wow, game of the year, woo, and it wasn't. But one thing I really did enjoy about it was the soul jumping mechanic, where you can jump from animal to animal. There's just something really seamless about it, where you can just hop from a bird and then dive from the ground and then jump into like a gazelle and just hop around the place and then go into a fish, and like you can just go from land to sea to air so seamlessly, and it gets you around so fast to the point where like there is fast travel in the game if you go to the ports, but I never used it once because it felt like it was doing the game a disservice, because I mean nothing else about the game I was particularly enjoying, but getting from awful bit to awful bit was fun.
Like if you can fly as a bird or like swim as a dolphin, why would you like do anything else? Right. Like it is, I agree. That's the best part of that game, is finding the different animals that you can become. It's great.
Yeah, it was just it scratched my rat brain whenever I could just fly from one thing to the next, and then you got to the awful combat sections, and I was like, oh, I want to be a bird again.
Yeah, I didn't mind the combat stuff when I started to figure out the kind of quicker speed at which you can just like soul jump into like a flaming canister and roll around, and then soul jump into another barrel, and
it just felt really awkward.
Yeah, like I think it's only good because of the soul jumping. Otherwise, it would be not as good.
To be fair, the setting and the music is also very good. but that does not make the game good.
Although the diving mini game in that game too is another mechanic that I wish they'd had more diving spots, because that was quite fun to do the little flips and get a score and stuff. I spent way too long doing those. But
yeah, there were a lot of like arbitrary mini games in that, and I was like, I feel like these are all linked to trophies, and I don't want to do all of these. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, it's not happening.
yeah, that platinum is hard. It's insane.
Yeah, and it just seems like lots of busy work, and I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
enjoy the game enough to do the busy work.
Fair.
Anyone jumping in?
Yeah. This one, okay, it's kind of basic, but I really love in the game I mentioned earlier, Road Warden. You can pick different difficulty settings, and one of the settings gives you a certain amount of days to be in the region to complete the objective, and then you're forced out of the world. And I just love the idea of just having a deadline from that, and
Oh, I
just
hate
like
that.
it's like you only have 30 days or 40 days to get this done, and I feel like
that
nothing
will get me
motivates
so
more.
stressed.
It does. It gets you very much
Majora's
like
Mask.
okay, have I wasted today? Have I gotten anything done? And you're constantly looking at the daytime. It's like, okay, I've like 20 more days left, and I have another. I can easily get this done, right? Then it's like, no, actually, the days are getting shorter, and the roads are muddier, so yeah, it takes longer to get across, and it's frustrating and terrifying. But it's such a little small thing that creates this reaction, and you can choose the option to have no time limit, but I really like the idea of just throwing me into an open world and saying you only have this many days to be here, and then a meteor is gonna crash into it, or I don't know, you're rescued, or something happens, and like it creates this kind of it's just like, oh no, I'm doomed, and you have to just scuttle as fast as you can. And I liked
so
it.
not a fan.
Yeah, that scares me.
It immediately made me think of like the first Dead Rising game, whenever you're in the mall and they give you a set
right.
amount of time. Oh, and like it's not like a mechanic you can turn off. That's the game, and I'm like, oh, immediately I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like anything that causes me additional stress.
Oh,
I've just
I don't mind
rage
the additional
quit.
stress. The problem is, I like to think about my decisions and make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, then
Really
fine,
stupid
whatever.
rushing things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a huge Zelda fan, and that Majora's Mask, I have rage quit 300 times. It's the only one I can't finish because the time limit kills me. I need time to look at my walkthrough, plan my stuff, and there's just no room for that.
yeah. I mean, I understand the tension, and I think okay, that's fair. But also, it's just like, oh, I do so well when I have a deadline. It's like I try to be so efficient and be like, okay, do I have this down? Yeah, all right, I have enough food. I've taken care of this, and I don't know. It's without that, I feel like I'm just playing at my own rate, and that's fine. But I want there to be some motivation for me to get the stuff done before something happens.
I think you just really like games being harder than they should be.
Yeah, I mean that too.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
I mean, I love Dark Souls-ish games, like Souls-like. So it's so much fun for me. It's like when I win.
But they're harsh but fair. You like games like Darkest Dungeon where you're not really meant to win.
But I win anyway, and it just says it feels great. I get to hold my cup of tea and be like, oh, well, nice try, Eldritch Horror, but you've been bested. It feels so good.
And do you say it with the same level of panache every time?
Well, of course. Unless I lose, and then I'm a little bit upset. But
You lose the panache.
then if that's gone just a whiny brat, it's like, no, you're cheating, jerk.
I always try and picture you playing Souls games because I know how irate I get and I start like swearing at the screen. I
get
can't
so
really picture
mad.
you doing that.
I'm actually very level-headed. I'm like, oh darn it! Like if I die, it's like, oh
Darn
shoot.
it! Is that all? I get like I'm usually calm, but if I'm playing a game like that, I guess like you should have seen me when I was even just doing the Lies of P demo. I was so angry and stressed. That's why I can't play those kinds of games. They bring out the side of me I like pretend isn't there.
Ella comes up to me sometimes and just goes, "You know that's a game and you're a grown man." I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh,
It's stressful. It's not nice when you can't beat something that you want to beat. It makes you mad.
but when you actually beat it, it's like, wow, I did such.
That is a good
hard
feeling.
game.
It is a
Yeah.
good feeling.
It really depends on the source material because, like, if it's an Elder Scrolls game or not Elder Scrolls, Dark Souls game, I'm like, okay, fine, this is justified. But I had that same kind of reaction to the boat in a short hike, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? I shouldn't be shouting obscenities at this game. It's so lovely.
I just remember driving the boat around in circles around the island, listening to the music. Like, yeah, this is so much fun.
Oh, to be JT.
Okay, maybe I'll concede. I might quietly swear sometimes if I'm playing a game, a Dark Souls game, and I lose. But for the most part, yeah, for the most part, I think I'm a very good sport. But I was like, oh, you got me. Good on you.
You got me. You're too poor, JT.
Well played, boss. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in with another one for fun.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know if this was actually like a big developer because that was so long ago, but it got like a really poor reception. But there was one thing that it done really well, and I was like, "Ooh, what if someone else done it?" It's kind of similar to like a sanity system in like a survival game, but it was in We Happy Few where you had.
I hated We Happy Few.
I kind of hated it too.
Basically, how it existed was like you had your drug-infused, medicated world where everything was happy, and you had this like kind of colorful, fun time world. And then whenever you cut that down, it was like a desolate world where everything's actual reality. And I was like, "Ooh, that's such a cool concept." But I will admit, the game is not good.
So bad. It was one of those weird games because it was like it suddenly got like a huge influx of cash for marketing, but they clearly didn't have that during the game itself because the game was rubbish. So it was like over marketed for what was essentially a really average at best game. Like it was not fun to play at all.
I think that I didn't necessarily mind the game itself, but it's so broken. Like it's very hard to actually get through it without it crashing or you soft locking or doing something. And that's now. So like I can only imagine what it was like at launch because I didn't play it then. But a game that does it a lot better is Bloodborne. So you have the insight system in Bloodborne where basically the further you get into the game, it starts off in this world where you don't know a lot about it. It's dark, it's gothic, but like you don't know what's going on. And then as you gather more insight by getting through the game, you suddenly start seeing things in the world that were always there, but you didn't know they were. Like, for example, like spoilers, but it was 2015, so sorry. There is like a part halfway through the game where if you get enough insight, you can see the big amygdala that's sitting on the wall that's always been there the whole time, but then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, look at that. And it does stuff like that the whole time where the sky changes and the world changes with your insight, and it's
almost like when
cool.
you roll for perception in D&D.
Exactly, same sort of thing. And I think there's definitely a way that games can do that in a much better way. Like We Happy Few is probably like the antithesis of that. And if they could have done that well, that would have been so cool. But they didn't, sadly.
Yeah, no, I really love how those things kind of like recontextualize the world and make it you look at it differently. And it's like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is horrible. And the Bloodborne, that example, I just remember seeing that and just being kind of terrified, like, oh, it's like kind of quivering a little bit. I just like put the controller down and had to walk away. It's like, oh, it's been there the whole time.
I remember going through that section exactly and getting hit with something. I'm like, but there's nothing here.
Oh, I know
later
that
on,
section. It's like then you could see it, and I was like, oh.
But yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of that. But what about you guys? Another one?
I mean, speaking of recontextualizing the world, one game that I admittedly didn't finish because when I played it, it was at launch and it was like really buggy. But Chris Tales, I don't know if you guys heard of that, but it had this really interesting mechanic where you could switch between 3 timelines, so the past, the present, and the future. And basically, by interacting with the past, you could change things in the present, and by changing things in the present, you could go to the future, get an item, and then bring it back to like the present. So, for example, you might like need to complete a quest, and like there might be like, you know, a woman might have some information you need to be like, okay, I'll give you this, but I'm really hungry. Can you get me an apple? And next to you there'll be a fruit tree, but there won't be any fruit. But then you can skip to the future, pluck the apple in the future, go back to the present and give her the apple you plucked in the future. Or like you might need to go back to the past to plant a fruit seed and then jump to the present to get to be a tree, future to get the apple, that kind of thing. And the jumping between the timelines was something really unique that I hadn't seen in other games. And the fact that it sort of like had that continuity as well. So basically, if you interacted with something in the past, like it was so present there in the present and the future, and you could always go back and change it. But like the previous iterations might be affected, like depending on which timeline you were in. And yeah, unfortunately, like I said, when I played it, you couldn't really go more than a few hours into the game before it just crashed every single time on one particular fight, and I just never went back to it. But I loved that concept of the mechanic of being able to go between the timelines and interact with it. And there was even this fun thing where you kind of like went into a storybook and did the same thing. So it was telling the story, and like you were acting out, and like you might need to go across like a bridge, but there's water there, so you like go into the past and you like create like a leak so there won't be water there in the present and stuff like that. It's just really clever recontextualizing how it's almost like in Portal, you say you like think in portals. In Crystal's like think in timelines. You've got to think solving puzzles. You're not going to be able to solve them just by interacting it with coming at it from one time. You've also got to come at the same puzzle from the present and the future and make them all meld together to get it to work. It was just really clever.
It's given me visions of, I don't know the name of this one, but like it's one of those viral games that's been popping up at every single expo. And it's this one where you're like in this real world setting, but you can change it to like a Roman setting, and suddenly it's back in time where you can go into the future. And then, so, like, for example, like you're faced with a door and an enemy, and you can't get past them, but then you change it back to the setting, and suddenly you have like a drawbridge that you can lower if you do something.
Interesting.
But it's the exact same
I don't
environment.
think I know that one.
Callum, I know what you're talking about because I played it when it was just a Skyrim mod, but I'm forgetting what it's called.
Oh, is it the Lost City?
Yeah, is that it?
No, that is a Skyrim mod. No, that's not it, because that's not how it works. No. But that is a very good Skyrim mod.
Yeah, and they became its own game. And I was like, oh, wow.
Skyrim mod.
That sounds cool, though.
I don't know. It looks like one of those viral games that's very much succeeding on a concept, and it hasn't quite figured out what it is yet. But if they do something with it, very cool. I don't know the name of it, and I am... I'm not going to get it, but the next time there is an expo on like a big one, it will be there. So just have a watch of it. I can guarantee you it's been at every other one since. So there's that. But yeah, the timeline thing it kind of reminded me of that, because it's just basically taking the world that's already there, but just bringing it back and changing it and making it the same. I think they've done that in Oxenfree 2 as well, to an extent.
I haven't played yet.
They put you through time rifts, and you could change it to like a certain year, and then suddenly you can get into the mine shaft. It was very low key in Oxenfree 2, but they still did it.
It reminds me, one that I was going to bring up actually, the Gardens Between, with a similar, you fast forward and rewind to figure out the puzzles, and it's trippy, but I feel like it's also really smooth, which is what I really like about.
I liked the Gardens Between for a while, but after a while I got a bit bored of it, so I didn't finish it. I felt it's one of those games that I appreciate it, but I found it too slow paced.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like thankfully it's not too long. Like I feel like if it was any longer than it was, it would have gotten very repetitive.
I mean, I only played it for like a couple of hours, so I was probably quite near the end, to be honest. But I was like,
you probably were. To be
honest,
I was
like, I'm not enjoying it. I'm just gonna leave it at this point.
I just love the story. I really like the minimalist way of telling stories, and that definitely does that for sure. But yeah, it just sticks with me that just how smooth that like fast forward and backwards was in that, and the use of like the childhood items and stuff and the different things that they could do was quite fun. But yeah, not the most like complex puzzle game in the world, but interesting.
That's such a cool mechanic. It makes you just want to mess around with the timelines and stuff, and it's like do something where it's like I don't know, like you're rude to a kid as a child, and they end up like growing up to be a monster, or you're nice to them and they become a very nice gentleman.
Well, I'll jump in because I've only got one more left, so I'll just exhaust the list. The last one is one that I know is not going to appeal to Melika in the slightest, but it's definitely going to appeal to JT. So if you've played a game called Fury, basically that's like a fast-paced combat game, and the key basis of Fury that I really enjoy is that they take out all the preamble, and it's just literally boss gauntlet, just boss, nothing in between. And it's so good. It's so good.
Sounds like hell.
But I never really enjoy, like, it's fine, and the exploration part's like somewhat intriguing, but like the Souls games, the bit that is like the meat and potatoes of it all is the boss that you're getting to and working out their attack mechanics and beating them, and then all the stuff in between is like, I'm getting to the next boss and eventually I'll get there. Plus, if they ever bring anything that isn't just fight enemies into Dark Souls games, then I go, oh, well, then it's going to be platforming and I'm going to hate it, or it's going to be something else and I'm going to hate it. So I just like the bosses, and Fury just literally goes, you've beaten that one, there's a little bit of story, and then boom, into the next one again. and they're all really well designed.
So nice. It's like it was the same
God.
thing for Liza P. It was like, oh, I can't wait to get to the next boss and see what they look like. Because the regular enemies were fine, but like I really enjoyed the boss battles. So just that makes me want to try Fury. I didn't know like that there was no filler. It was just boss battle to boss battle. And were like the good fights.
Yeah, so there's a couple of them that are a little bit worse than others, but the vast majority of them are very, very good. And they really knock you in your ass from like the first one. Like none of them are filler bosses. Like they all have a unique thing you need to work out, and they have like 2 to 3 stages each, and they're all pretty deadly. And then I'm pretty sure there's like a really intense hard mode that I'm not sure how that works, but I think there's like a unique mechanic behind it. I can't remember, but it's very much a JT game above all else. I enjoyed it, but I doubt I'd ever go back to it again. But I feel like you would go a couple laps round.
Oh yeah, I can already see myself doing. I've actually, I think might have seen. Oh no, I'm thinking of Runner. Okay, never mind. I haven't seen Fury yet, but I'm gonna check it out later.
I feel like you'll really get a kick out of that one.
Well, can I introduce a more lighthearted mechanic that's kind of dumb? It doesn't introduce anything new, but it's great.
Oh, go for it, please do.
Right, the same people who made Chicory also made a game called Wonder Song, which I really love, and it's a game where you're playing as a bard and you solve all of your problems by singing them away, and you become friends with everybody and save the world, and it's very sweet and sad, and but it's not just the singing in the game. Like that's a great mechanic on its own. Like there's a singing wheel and it's fine. It's like there's a bits like in Chicory where you can create your own song as opposed to creating your own like T-shirt, and it comes up later in the game and it's like, oh, I made that song, and it feels like it's something I made. It's very cool. But there's a part of the game where this adds nothing like of value. It doesn't improve the gameplay or trigger any reactions, but there's a dedicated dance button where you can make the bard just start to spin around like a dancer or aggressively dab or just do a variety of like just these really quirky moves.
That's so silly but fun.
It's great. And someone's like trying to talk to me and I'm just dancing.
I'll be honest, I played Wonder Song in the cheekiest way possible because the way it works is you get achievements for beating specific chapters, but you can actually just skip to any chapter of the game from the beginning. So I've only played the chapters of Wonder Song that have an achievement at the end. So I think there's like 40 odd chapters and about 8 of them have achievements. So I've just played the 8 chapters throughout the game that have the achievement.
Oh.
I mean, it was a good game. I liked it, but yeah, I didn't play all of it. I was like, right, that's achievement. Back to the menu screen. Let's skip to this next chapter.
Did you at least?
Because I was doing it at the time. There was like this Xbox was running this event for like 3 days to get just as much gamer score as you possibly could. So I was only thinking achievements. So it had to be done.
That's fair. I can understand that, but I just want to know: did you at least do the pirate quest where the like that arc of the game? I thought that might have been the strongest arc. Were you on a pirate
Can't
ship?
remember, to be honest. It was a long time ago. It was, God, when was it? 2017, I think. So it was a while back that I played it.
Okay, it's basically like you're in like a quiet pirate tavern, and you just like kind of quietly say like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna save the world," and then everything's silent, and then the pirate captain says, "I'm coming with you," and the music comes all cheery. It's become so.
I mean, that does sound vaguely familiar. That does sound vaguely familiar, to be honest. I think I might have done that one.
Okay. But I don't know, it's a great game. It's but just God, having just really throwaway mechanics like that don't do anything for the actual part of the game, but just look really silly. I think it's great, and all you have to do is just press Y on a controller. So
I mean, it's right out there with Untitled Goose Game and Hunting.
Oh my God, Untitled Goose Game, so good.
That game just wouldn't be the same without a nice hunk.
Still need to play that game. I've only seen people play it, like streaming it. Does it actually?
It's a very good streaming game.
It's so fun. It's so dumb, but it's so fun.
You being the agent of chaos that you are.
Yeah, you'll love it, JT. It's like your sole job is to ruin the lives of the people around you. It's fantastic.
That sounds wonderful.
You're the most annoying goose. Yeah, it's so good.
Oh gosh, I really have to try that at some point.
It's really nice and short as well. Like you can complete the game in like an hour, and you can get all the achievements within like 3 hours. It's really good.
All right.
So play every single Pokemon game and then play that.
Yeah,
Pokemon first.
first.
Definitely priority.
It's on the list.
Ugh.
We got any more peeps?
I mean, I've got one last one that I was going to include, and that is Drake Hollow. So it's got a lot of really cool mechanics, but the one I'm going to focus on for this is that you can basically, when you're exploring the world, you can craft these little pole things, and you can only craft a certain amount of them within each level. But if they're within like a set distance of another pole, they create like a beam of light that you can then use to sort of glide between areas. And it's just something, it's a really sort of cool, fun, fast travel mechanic that you can sort of set up these poles throughout the level as you're going. And then once you get to the end of exploring one area, you can just like glide really fast back. And it's a very unique take on fast travel because you don't just skip back to your camp, but you can like just go between the poles. If you see something you want, you've missed the first time, you can jump off and set it in a different direction. Like it doesn't have to be a straight line. You can create all these like interconnected webs, and you've got to like collect all the materials that you need for them. And I just thought it was so fun and clever and such a unique way of doing something like just traveling, which is such a simple thing to do. I just really enjoyed it. I just love Drake Hollow in general though. If you haven't played Drake Hollow, you should check it out. It's really fun.
Just searching it up right now.
Basically, you collect these cute little creatures called drakes, and you've got to like rebuild your home. But the survival aspect of it is really funny because they need sleep, they need food, they need water, obvious, but they also need fun, and they can die if they don't get enough entertainment. So you need to make sure to like build them things like swings and trampolines and like bouncy balls and things to keep them entertained. And they'll give you boosts, and there's like different enemies so you've got to fight off. And occasionally there'll be a raid at your camp, and you've got to like attack them with like random objects that you found around, like hockey sticks or dustbin lids and stuff like that. And it's just so fun, and there's all different seasons as well, and you can go throughout the world and discover new drakes to bring home to your world. And when a drake reaches elder status, it like dies, but it's commemorated with like a statue that stays there, and you can like visit the statue and like be reminded of that drake, and it's just really sweet. I love it.
Oh, I'm just
See,
imagining.
I didn't know if I'd like it because I always preferred Josh. So that one go. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that one I'm with you now, Drake and Josh. That took me a second. That took me a second.
Oh, dang it. I didn't get that one.
But also, yeah, that's totally valid. Josh is better than Drake.
I'm trying to find the name of a game because you reminded me of a farming sim I played recently that had this weird mechanic where you could give your chickens hats and let them dance under a disco ball.
That sounds wonderful.
I can't remember what it was called, and it was a really good game too. I'm annoyed that I wish I had my Switch in front of me so I could just look, but it was bizarre. If anyone can remember, if anyone in the comments or anything knows what I'm talking about, please let me know what the name of that game is because it was bizarre.
Virtual Farmer?
No, I wanted to say it's called No Way Home, but that's obviously the Spider-Man movie, so I don't know why my brain is
I think we may actually have covered this at some point.
No Place Like Home.
No Place Like Home.
No, yes, that's it. Yes. A weird little mechanic that it has. Yeah.
I just googled farming sim game dancing chicken hats.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of exactly what you were saying, is like they need a certain amount of fun to like produce eggs or whatever. So yeah, you have to occasionally make them dance and put hats on them. It's really weird. But yeah, it's also a very good farming sim though, if anyone ever wants to play.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like taking them to see a movie and like if they can die of fun, it's like I ask them like, oh hey, was that interesting? It's like they say, no, that was kind of boring, and then they just die on the spot. It's like, oh, that's a bummer.
Or an into Oppenheimer.
I like it.
Like, I wanted to see the Barbie movie instead.
Yeah, come on.
Great. After that 3 times.
Have we exhausted everything?
I think so.
There's one more, but I feel like I talk about it too much, and Callum probably already knows, so I'm gonna bring up.
The Disco Elysium.
Yeah, it's Disco.
Oh my god! You have covered that game inside and out.
I have. I love it, and I just want to say we don't have to go on about it because we talk about it a lot. But just the mechanic of having the voices in your head talk back to you it's so cool. And I think if more narrative-driven games had that, like instead of just like the evil angel and the bad angel, you just have just multiple voices in your head just chiming and say like, hey, you should try this instead, or so you can do drugs.
Don't forget the talking tie.
And the horrific necktie, of course. That's one of my favorite characters in the game by far. I love when they heroically sacrifice themselves to save me. They pause time and have a little monologue. It's amazing.
So surreal, but also great.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to talk too much about that because we talk about the Skeleesum every time. 'Cause I love it.
You're right. We
I
should
was gonna say,
take a
I've
little
never
break.
played it, but I
Yeah.
feel like I know a lot more about the game than the average
Mm.
person.
Yeah. My
We'll do
partner's
that, yeah.
obsessed with that game, so I feel the same that I've heard about it so much that I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I've played it even though I've never
I'm
played
like a
Yeah.
second-hand expert in it through JT.
Well, I'm glad.
All right. Well, I think we've definitely exhausted the topic on wonderful but weird game mechanics we'd love to see more of. If you have some of your own in mind, let us know in the comments in the Discord, anywhere you can find us. Come find me, knock on my door, tell me all about it, whatever you want. And then, as well as that, just a little bit of a plug. indiegameculture.com, news, reviews, guides, all that stuff. You need to be going on there. You need to be looking at it. The website's doing super well. We want to do super even better. So go and check it out. As well as that, rate us 5 stars. It's good for the podcast. It's good for my health. Do it, please. And tell your friends. We want you to bring more people over to listen to us talk about games. Also, Kat, would you like to do another plug?
Sure. Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. If you want to find more stuff about me, I'm Cozy Gamer Cat on nearly every platform. But if you're interested in hearing more about indie games and cozy games and the kind of stuff I like, I create videos on YouTube. I stream twice a week on Twitch and twice a week on YouTube. And I create content on Instagram, TikTok, and now I have a podcast. Yeah, it's like there's another one I'm missing. And I have a podcast with my friend Jess is Haunted called the Cozy Gamer Cast, where we explore different thematic elements in video games. So our most recent one was about romance in video games and how that's tackled in different ways. We did a whole one on cozy horror, if you're interested in that topic. So we'd like to kind of deep dive into the more story stuff because that's kind of where Jess and I overlap. And we also just talk a lot of I don't know if I'm allowed to swear here, so I won't, but we talk just a lot about our lives. So if you like that kind of podcast too, where it'll be fun that way. But yeah, I think that's it. I hope to see you guys around. This is very fun.
Yeah, everyone that is a fan over here, get over there. Bit of support goes a long way. But until next time, I have been Cal, Melika JT Cat, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
See ya.
Bye.